meeting, a meeting today to obviously start hearing the submissions on the LTP amendment. Order of the business, and just to remind councillors that we're going live stream. Lisa, we're connected? Okay, so welcome to members out there over in the district or around the world. Nice to have you with us today. Hopefully you can hear us. Just reminding the councillors to talk nice and loud and clear, and everyone will be able to hear. So item number 1 is apologies. Do we have any apologies? Councillor Harvey for lateness. Councillor Truman, is anyone here from Councillor Truman? Very unusual, she's not here, so perhaps for lateness there we'll move those. Hopefully they will turn up in due course. Moved by Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's against? Carried. Item number 2, conflicts of interest. Regarding any of the submissions or any of the items on the agenda today. No conflicts, that'll be cool. And no minutes to be confirmed. Councillor Kingy, do you mind, sorry, I was mentioned earlier, if you could give us a blessing for the next 2 or 3 days, it'd be lovely. Thank you very much, Councillor Kingy. Thank you very much, Councillor Kingy. Yeah, okay. All right. Hadley, Mr. Hadley Taddle, who's policy manager here this morning, that's guiding us through the, sorry, I might have the slightly incorrect title, but who's guiding, you're in charge today, put it that way. Yeah, that's fine. Very good. Hadley, tell us what we've got coming forward.
Good morning, everyone. So you've got there's one item there, 4.1, to receive, hear and deliberate on submissions made on the consultation document for the amendment of the long-term plan, 2018 to 2028 on the council administration building and the Taupo museum. So there's 2 recommendations there. The first one is to receive those submissions that you have received, and the second one is to accept late submissions, and there is a list of those late submitters there. So just
okay, so you'd like those moved now, to go through that process now? Sure.
Now, yes.
So item number 1, do I have a mover, please, for that? Moved by Councillor Jollins, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Is against? Carried. Item number 2 is that we accept the late submissions from the following submitters, as listed there. So could I have a mover there that those be accepted? Moved by Councillor Hickling, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Is against? Carried. Okay, back to you, Hadley.
Okay, so we've got 29 submitters to be heard today. I think it's just important at this stage just to give you a reminder. I had a query from a couple of councillors late last week around a survey that the TTCB conducted.
Yes.
It's important for you to remember that under the principles of consultation in the Local Government Act, that council should receive all information with an open mind. So that includes today and every day leading up till now. And whether you receive information through a formal submission process, which you've just done now, or through a survey, or something as simple as a conversation with someone at a consultation event, all of that information that you've received is information that you need to receive with an open mind and consider through your deliberations. So just something I just wanted to clarify before we kicked into today. Okay,
thank you very much, Mr. Taddle. Any questions, Mr. Taddle, regarding that? Councillor Park.
Yes, Ms. Hadley, there was originally 44 that wanted to be heard, and I see that there's been 1 withdrawn. And there's 29 today, did you say?
29, that's right. Yes, so through the course of people indicating they wish to be heard from that point until now, I think we've had about 13 people who have since said that they don't want to be heard. So we have been in contact with all those people, and they said they didn't want to be heard, so it's now 29 as of today.
And also, just following on, Mr. Green, submitter number 585, Chloe Walker, and 586, Chloe Walker, as she's unavailable for that time, will be transferred till the end of the day later on. So, slight change around there. Mr. Green.
I know, I was just following on to say that it's pretty normal every time we do this submission process, you get some pull out.
Yeah, Okay, all right, Headley. So down to the submitters. Gary, who have we got first up? Okay, thank you very much. So Councillor submitted number 40, Mr. David Buxton. Good morning, Mr. Buxton. Come and sit down.
Good morning.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Seeing I've only got 5 minutes, I have to be quick.
No problem. We've obviously got a copy of your submission here, so we have read it, but you're more than happy to
Thank you.
make some points to it. Yeah.
I just want to express my belief that we should be looking at a lease option for the town's council administration building. And the reason being is we live in a world of fast change, and who knows what is required of our building in the near future, even in 5 to 10 years. And there's quite a number of purpose-built buildings that become redundant. And the faster the changes we have now, the quicker these buildings seem to become redundant. And there's probably a good chance that in the not too distant future that there's going to be a mega council in this area, an amalgamation of neighbouring district councils and even maybe the Waikato Regional Council, and probably the headquarters won't be here in Taupo. But most importantly, I believe we need capital urgently for infrastructure. And for example, a decent transport hub for buses and taxis that we can be proud of, certainly not the one we've got now. A new bridge over the Waikato River and the associated roading. The current developments around the Norman Smith and Wairaki Drive are only tinkering with the problem. And I'm sure the proposed lights will probably cause more chaos than what they'll fix. Now, the other part of the document that I ticked was for a museum upgrade. I think it was museum rebuild. Well, I put a rider to that firstly, it's not funded by ratepayers' money, or at least most of the funding comes from outside sources. Secondly, that the existing building isn't demolished, that it's a heritage building and any improvements or additions should be in behind that building. And thirdly, the Taupo Women's Club and Rotary House building should not be demolished. That building is used extensively for a lot of community activities, and it's beyond my thinking as to why certain people, and I believe certainly it's our Mayor and CEO, want that building demolished. I just can't fathom that. And fourthly, that any museum development is not an avenue for council to get their fancy building on the domain. Absolute no-no. And I'll just, if I may, finish by expressing my concern of the council, and I believe led very much by the CEO, spending probably in excess of $1 million all up on consultants and other costs on the cultural precinct project. I think this has just been an absolute waste of money. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buxton. Any quick questions, clarification?
Yeah, good morning, David. My name's Roseanne Jollins. Just a quick question from me. If council were of a mind to select the lease option for the CAB building, did you have a preference or suggestions on location for where that building might be located?
No, I understand that there's 2 or 3 options, but I'm not aware of the other 2 or 3, only the one that's been in the press.
I noted in your submission you made reference to 248 Tower Street car park, so you wouldn't be opposed to a lease building going up on that site?
I'd be totally opposed. I think that car park is absolutely essential to remain the way it is. And of course, the option of building on there and putting an underground car park is just far too expensive.
Sure. So just to clarify, if it was a lease, the location wouldn't be the current 248 Tower Street
No,
car park. You think
I
that should be for car parking?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Councillor Body?
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Thank you, David. In regards to the lease, would you be looking at staying as we are, or a purpose-built building to lease? Because we've got two submissions which are on our website, looking at the old 248 Tower Street car park 29. So what would it be? Stay as we are, or go out for whatever to get expressions of interest to build?
I'm thinking of a purpose-built building, but of course, not having council money invested in it, then you're only committed to that lease time, and if at the end of that lease it is not what you want, well, you can walk away.
Very good. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Buxton. I do hope you do stay around and listen to the other submissions, and that would be much appreciated if you could. Thank you. All right, Kerry. Submitter number 555, Mr. David McPherson. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Full of the Davids this morning.
Lots of Davids, yeah.
Very good.
Right, well, good morning, everybody. I'm a contrast to the previous submitter, who's probably not going to like what I'm going to say. But, you know, for me, there's a lot of different opinion about this. And, you know, I would urge councillors to perhaps take a long view of this, and that's certainly what I think should happen, which is to actually think about the future for this town and for the people who live in it and the people who come and visit it. So for me, the decision boils down to either we spend more than we would prefer to get something fantastic, or we spend less on what I think will be a short-term fix, and in so doing waste a wonderful opportunity that will not come around again in our lifetimes, in 50 to 100 years, in my opinion. So I support putting the council buildings on the Tongariro domain, and I get to that through wanting the master plan's idea of a cultural precinct on the Tongariro domain. To make that master plan viable, I think that the council buildings have to be located on the same site. The council buildings have to be built somewhere, the lease option notwithstanding. And it seems to me that if we make them part of a cultural precinct, we get economies of scale, we get efficient and integrated design, and we, as I understand it, get some extra funding that we lose if we don't use. On a side note, the graph on this booklet showing the huge cost for the Tongariro domain option includes an upgraded museum. It doesn't allow for extra funding, and so it appears to me anyway to be quite misleading in terms of the actual costs. I believe the cost of the council buildings themselves for the Tongariro domain option is roughly the same as the other options. To me, linking a redeveloped museum, art gallery and public spaces with the boat harbour is a fantastic idea for this town. Integrating council buildings with those, whilst not essential, is, I think, highly preferable for several reasons. First of all, the people who use the council buildings will generate foot traffic through the day and create a buzz around that space. The domain site will give Taupo a heart. It's my understanding that there's 16 million in extra funding available from central government that would otherwise be lost with any of the other options. Of all the sites, the domain provides the greatest scope for good design. Of all the possible sites, the domain has the most room for parking. There are lots of other reasons for not building on the Tuwharetua Street car park, but I'm against that site because it pretty much makes the master plan dead in the water. And I like the master plan. I think it's great. There will be those who are against the master plan on the grounds of cost and or development, and I'm not in favour of growth for its own sake either. But we have an opportunity to build something really special that will be here long after we're all gone, to be enjoyed by everyone. Like it or not, Taupo is going to have more residents and it's going to host more visitors. I'm not a fan of unrestrained growth and development in Taupo. We're not a big city. I don't think we should try to be. I don't like the idea that we're becoming an ever-increasing sprawl of a retirement village with holiday homes and tourists. However, being small shouldn't mean that we can't have excellent facilities. Building a proper 21st century museum is a no-brainer for me. We can keep our taonga safe, we can tell our stories, we can build a cultural heart for the town in innovative ways. What's more, we'll find that our visitors love to learn about us in this place and will help us pay for it, even on rainy days. And I know that bigger isn't necessarily better, but integrating council buildings and the cultural precinct together saves us money and gets us something very special. For me, the goal is to have appropriate, sustainable growth that provides quality of life for us, our kids, and their kids. That means employment, but also great facilities, public and recreational spaces that we can all enjoy, a vibrant social, cultural, and sporting environment that encourages us all to participate and have a sense of community. I don't think we should lose sight of these bigger goals. The cultural precinct with a world-class small museum can be one of the platforms for that quality of life. For me, the viability of the cultural precinct rests upon the location of the council buildings on the Tongariro domain. Unrestricted development, no. But on this issue, I urge the council to be bold and brave and see the master plan through. Not only is it worth doing now, it will be seen in the future as a fantastic asset for a fantastic part of New Zealand. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to build a heart for our wonderful town. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Your excellent submission here this morning, and the thought and the time you've taken in, might be a couple of questions, sorry, that you put into this submission here. Questions, councillors, or points of clarification?
Just through the chair. Hi, David. Hi. Look, thank you for your excellent and well thought out presentation this morning. A question from me. When we looked at developing the master plan, there were several options that we considered about how we might develop that cultural precinct. Did you have a view on any of those options or thoughts that you might like to take this opportunity to share?
I did have a preference, but in terms of the bigger picture, I think it's a great opportunity to develop that side of town. And I didn't really mind which of the options were there. So, you know, for me, that's another question, because it's pointless talking about that unless we get through this. But yeah, I mean, I think there were some of the options were probably more favourable to, you know, the look and feel of the space than others.
And just one last question, David. You talked about, sorry, you talked about sustainability and affordability and efficiency. Did you have any thoughts on, if we were to stage the development in that area, what you thought was an acceptable time frame to roll that out? Had you had any thoughts on that?
It seems to me that a lot of this is about money. You know, the previous speaker spoke about, you know, other infrastructure, and I don't disagree with any of that. The money's always the issue. But, you know, in a way, if you spend money on one of the other options, you really destroy the vision of the master plan. And so it's kind of a, you know, you either go for the whole thing or you really wreck it for everything else. So, I've lost the question, sorry.
Sorry, it was just in terms of if we did to stage the rollout,
yeah.
What's
So,
acceptable?
So the idea of staging it, I think, is one of the opportunities. I mean, I think the other thing council should be looking at is helping tourists, visitors, to pay more for for what they have here. And that's another discussion. But it would seem to me that there are potentially other sources of funding that would that might be able to feed into this kind of development. And I also believe that there was at least 16 million of funding that we miss out on if we don't choose this option. That's quite a lot of money to throw away. And somebody also, I believe, told me there was another similar amount of donations and other funding. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but it seems to me there's quite a package of money that comes with a master plan development that we're throwing away.
Lovely. Thank you, David. Any other questions of David? Thank you very much once again. Oh, Councillor Body.
Thank you for that well thought out submission. I'd just like to, and I've numbered them 1 to 2 as you have in your submission. How do you reconcile the statement in 1 against statement in 2? Because the first one you're talking about, let's say 50 years, opportunity for a decision.
Yes.
Then in 2 you state kinds of development should be viewed with caution, some kinds of development. And
Yes.
then there's 2 more points I'd like to raise as well.
Not this kind of development. I mean, well, every development that has a lot of money attached to it should be viewed with caution, and that's why I think it's such an important decision. I don't think this is about car parking, personally. I think that's too small a view of what we should be trying to do. And so I think, for me anyway, that we should be looking at doing something like this, iconic development that makes this place a wonderful place to live and will attract tourists as well, but it will give the people who live here a pride. It will give the town a heart. I don't know where the centre of Taupo is. We don't have a centre. I think this gives an opportunity for us to develop something that becomes the heart of our town.
Thank you for that. You've mentioned the car parks, because I've written down here, you say the car parks are a red herring that can be sorted out. My question was where. My other question is regards, you've made the comment, build on the domain, achieve significant savings. Could you just explain that?
Yeah, for me, it's about efficiency. That if you're going to put a development on the domain and integrate it with other galleries, public space, putting that all in one site, planned in one go, gives you efficiency in terms of design and use. And it seems to me that that is a saving of money. I think spending money on any of the other sites is a waste of money. It's not a complete waste of money, but it's wasting money. And it loses our opportunity to develop something a bit special. As far as the parking is concerned, is there a place in New Zealand that's of a certain size population that doesn't have car parking problems? Yeah, it's a thing, but in comparison to the potential of developing the domain site, I think it's a small thing. There's somebody who I know who voted for the lake site because they want to be able to park their car outside the council buildings, walk in and pay their rates by cheque. That's what one person I know, that's what went into their vote, or their, what they're thinking. So I'm just going, there's a lot of very short-term, it's all about me kind of thinking going on. And I, as I said, I'd like the council to be bolder and braver and do what's right for the future.
Last one, John. Turn your speaker on, John, please.
Have you factored in the fact that we have a ratepayer base of about 17,000 ratepayers?
Yes and no. You'll know a lot more about that than I do. Okay. All I know is that graph that shows this huge cost of $61 million is totally misleading, as far as I'm concerned, in comparison to the other options. The cost of the council buildings on the domain is the same or less than some of the other options. It's the same or less. So, but if we build on the domain, we leave ourselves the option of developing something much better for the town.
Great. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate your time here today. Right, Gary. Okay, submission 675, Timothy Plummer. Morning, gentlemen, and we have Mr. Hoadley here as well. Morning. Righty-ho. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors, for this opportunity of presenting our submission. For the record, TRG, Taupo Residence Group, is still in business. We still have around that 400 mark members, and those members do give us regular feedback, and likewise they in turn talk to their friends and contemporaries, and we believe that the feedback we get is reasonably representative, not necessarily, certainly of all opinions, but of the thoughts that we express and have expressed in the submission. Richard and I wish to, I take it that you have read our submission, and so Richard and I just wish to elaborate further and develop on one or two opinions that we have and views we have expressed within that submission. We have said in the submission that we support the 2 Wharetau Street without the underground car parking option. We do so, as I say, that we get a clear message back from our members that that would be the preferred option of the options that were presented in the consultation document. In fact, I think it would be fair to say that there was quite a lot of relief expressed, not only amongst those that we represent in TRG, but indeed around Taupo Town, when you as councillors intimated that your preferred option was not the domain option. And I can go further than that and say that I think that views around town have become somewhat complacent since then, and it hasn't become quite a high-profile talking point once the domain was off, certainly the preferred, as the preferred option. In saying that we support 2 Wharetau Street, I wish to elaborate or just bring to your attention the issue of prioritising capital expenditure. It is important that, and we're conscious of, and we know you all are, of the debt that sits on the books of the council, and that any capital expenditure, wherever it may be, has got to will either be adding to that debt or certainly got to be taken into account within the council books. The idea of a new council office has not come from ratepayers. It's come from the situation of what has developed from council itself. It is not one that's being instigated by ratepayers in the first instance, and certainly when you look at what ratepayers are looking at, we read regularly in the media of the various wishes and wants and demands and difficulties, and I refer to things such as the bridge, the traffic flows, the lakefront, or indeed the museum, which Richard will talk more about in a minute. And we are asking that you give consideration when you do decide as to whether it is necessary for council to have a new building, that be prioritised relative to other expenditures that are in front of you and the effects that may or may not have on debt and debt servicing in the years ahead. It is in fact evident to us that the current situation where the council has its various areas of work teams based in several offices around town, that this is working extremely well. In fact, we've had feedback from some members of your staff that are saying they're pretty happy with the situation. Modern technology means that they can communicate easily between divisions of council, and in particular, the feedback our members are telling us and others that the service centre is in the middle of town is working extremely well. Easy access, easy to get to, easy to do your business, easy to make appointments and meet staff in offices, etc. So I just throw the question back at you in terms of A, the priority of building a new council building, and indeed whether in fact perhaps other priorities should be put on the list and relative to what ratepayers and the growth of Taupo and the interests of Taupo should be. I think with those points I'll hand over to Richard and let him elaborate on a few other points that we've raised in our submission.
Thanks, Tim. I'd just like to mention that the consultation document, it really only focused on just 2 amendments to the long-term plan, and I believe it failed to really identify some of the other more important issues that Tim has alluded to, that presumably will now have to fall to the responsibility of the new incoming council to consider. We were, as a group, advised back last year, some 8 months ago, that in fact a traffic report was being prepared. Now, to my knowledge, that traffic report has never come to the surface. And I believe that until that plan is on the table, it is very hard to do any real planning, particularly in the CBD area. How on earth can you decide what's going to happen on Tongariro Street, for example? Are there going to be more roundabouts? What's going to happen to the bridge? And that obviously will affect the parking issues that are very important for the town. That traffic report that was indicated to us 8 months ago seems to have disappeared. And until that traffic report is on the table, everything should be put on hold. You haven't got all the tools to really consider the proper outcome of this discussion on what we should be doing in the CBD. If there's no apparent urgency to make this report public, then I suggest that expenditure in the CBD area should be deferred until that traffic report is made available. Am I wrong in saying that the traffic report is not available? Maybe someone can correct me on that. It's not available, is it? No.
Councillor Hickling?
Yes, that's okay, yeah. But it's been going on for now some 8 months or more, so. Yeah, okay. Fair enough, okay. Because I think that, you know, for example, the bridge is one I've always said should be brought forward from 2028, maybe until next year. But these are issues that I think you as a council need to sit back and just take a bit more time until that report is made available. In the meantime, I see no reason why this council cannot agree to sell 72 Lake Terrace, because that will help reduce the debt that Tim has alluded to. Because I believe that that is not a site that is preferred or going to now be developed for the purposes of this council, and therefore you people can decide to sell it. As for the consultation regarding the future museum, I was a little bit disappointed there's no mention of the art gallery, but thank you, Councillor Hackney, for putting it on the consultation list. There's been a bit of confusion as to the merits or the intention of that particular item, and that's a bit of a shame. But having said that, I don't know what the consultation results are going to show, but for the consultation document to infer, to quote, further work will be to identify the most appropriate location on the Tongariro domain. I'm not sure what the other options are, so there's a little bit of confusion from several aspects of how that consultation was put together. Just as an aside, the recent arts trail that's just finished yesterday has been very successful, and I think it highlights the enthusiasm now that's in this town that I would suggest goes back to when the Taupo Sculpture Trust was started, and we started to involve more people in the arts in Taupo, and I think there's a tremendous following now. It's really, really encouraging. We had so many people through our gallery. There was people coming in and out constantly, and I've heard that same report from all the other people around the town. It's been really, really successful, and everybody's been so happy with it. I think Councillor Rankin went to a couple of events. Your sister came up and saw us, so it was really good. And I just hope that this council will look very carefully at what to do with the museum. As far as the art gallery is concerned, it's probably not on your horizon, and it may well be that just gets done by private people.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. And just to wrap up, I say again that we, TRG, and our members supported the 2 Forage Tower Street option without the underground car park as the best of the 4 options that were put out in the consultation document. But we are very much suggesting that there should be no haste in proceeding, that it needs to be prioritised, that expenditure needs to be prioritised with the other expenditures that are on your books, and you are well aware that ratepayers are talking about and requesting, traffic, bridge, etc. And that further, that council must not lose direction in its core business and its day-to-day work and responsibilities with this haste to build a new building. I suspect, or we may get asked the question of renting, because it was an option there. Our committee has spent quite a lot of time actually debating the logics of renting, and while we didn't come to a clear conclusion, I throw in my bob's worth in saying that I can see real validity in an arrangement with a developer where you have the 2 Wharetoa Street site, which council already owns, have a developer build and own, and then a leaseback arrangement for a purpose-built building on such a site as being a very logic outcome. It has a number of advantages, obviously, which you're aware of, debt, and I don't believe that, let me put it another way, there are a number of ways of putting the figures together as to the lease and the cost of leasing is a viable option or not, bearing in mind that developers have access to some pretty good financial funds in such projects, and we're seeing that around the country on an ongoing basis. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and councillors. That's our submission.
Lovely. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Any quick points of clarification? Councillor Body.
Are you aware where the inbound car parking's going?
Sorry?
Are you aware where the inbound car parking's going for 2 Wharetoa Street?
Yes. Richard's probably better to comment.
Well, interestingly enough, at the last public meeting on the consultation,
That slide.
it came up on the screen almost looked like they'd been hand printed over an official document which indicated possible parking. And I think that was the first occasion that we as the public had any idea of what the in-berm parking may represent. And I go back to my statement before, let's wait until you get the traffic management report. Like, there's obviously information there that you people don't know about, and the public certainly don't know about.
Just
Thank you very much.
following up very quickly, in one of the submissions, somewhere in my big list here, someone has mentioned a 2006 report for a second bridge. So we need to see that. But if you go 206 to 219, it's a hell of a long while ago, 13 years. So that's in the archive somewhere, which I think us councillors should be able to get and have a look at.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate your time and your submission here this morning.
Very good.
Okay, Carrie.
Submission number 604, Doug Simmons.
Okay,
You also have a handout there.
Councillor, submission number 604, Douglas Simmons. Morning, Doug.
Morning, David. How are you?
The floor is yours, sir.
Good to see you looking so well, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, and councillors and staff, and thanks for the opportunity to present my submission this morning. The decision you face is a question of the past versus the future. The past is cluttered with rules and plans put in place by well-meaning administrators based on how they saw issues at the time. The future must embrace Taupo's newfound popularity as a place where people come from all over. Auckland, Wellington, Kaitaia, Coromandel, Tauranga, just to name a few, are coming to live and invest here. Who could foresee $100 million being spent on the mountain? The World Half Ironman in 2020 will bring $20 million into town, including worldwide TV coverage over 2 days, just to mention 2 events. Your Worship, I would like to see a futuristic design at 72 Lake Terrace. The present design is a reflection of architects' passion for things industrial. It needs to be alpine in its character. However, all the bureaucratic hurdles currently in place make it impractical, so 2 Wharekatau Street becomes the preferred option, in my opinion. Giving due consideration to affordability, the very rapidly expanding growth-driven rate base must give us options going forward which we have not had up until now. So I strongly advocate for the underground car park, retail shops in the ground floor, and provisions for a relocated bus terminal. The current one is an embarrassment. The underground parking option is based on the calculation that it would provide 80 underground parks, which is exactly provides for 25 staff car parks and the loss of 55 current spaces needed for the building footprint. As for the possibility of additional parking spaces made available around existing green space and the construction of above ground parking building, these will be needed to accommodate Taupo's rapid growth. I remind the council you made Bernie Purcell provide underground parking in the building he built opposite Caltex. I suggest you follow your own rules. We have examples of projects being compromised at the time of construction, i.e. Event Centre, no kitchen. Great Lakes Centre, reduced seating, small kitchen, no air conditioning. ETA, no landscaping. I realise it was a sign of the times when they were built in, but may I say my experience in the building industry tells me doing it right always costs more. As for 11 million for underground car parks, really? A couple of big diggers, a fleet of trucks and a big gully close handy that needs filling in, plus some design, a lot of steel and concrete. Yes, a big job, but 11 million, you need to get more than one quote. Mr. Mayor, I realise this option may be 5 years ahead of its time, and spending the extra to get it right first time will generate some opposition, but will deliver a legacy that we will all be proud of going into Taupo's very bright and exciting future. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Doug. Appreciate your submission and your time this morning. Might have a couple of questions if that's okay.
Yep.
Any questions of Doug?
Through the chair.
Jollins.
Good morning, Doug, and you're looking well as well. Just a quick question from me. You indicated in your submission that your option is 248 Tower Street with the underground car parking.
Yes.
But when you talked this morning, you mentioned 72 Lake Terrace as your preference. If council would be your preference over 248 Tower?
Thank you. Good question. If you could provide the widespread facilities for your ancillary, if that could be clustered into an appropriate building on Lake Terrace, yes, that would be my preferred option. It gets it out of the CBD, it gets it out of the clutter of all the traffic issues, the parking issues. It leaves the CBD for what it's designed for, and that's commercial activity. And I think that drove past it, and I think it could be designed in a way that not only the councillors and the staff, but the general public as a whole could enjoy it. It would have in it facilities that could be rented out for organisation. You know, I think it'd be an awesome option. But if the bureaucracy doesn't allow the practicalities of that, I'd drop back to 248 Tower Street.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor John. Thank you, Doug.
Agenda paper here.
Yeah.
You talked about the huge growth phase, and I sort of myself wrote down what's the growth got to do with the building. But reading what you've just presented to us now, the growth phase, you're talking about car parking. So whether we build wherever.
I'm Sonny Court Homes, and I sit in my own show home every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, and I have done for the last 2.5 years. So I've got a pretty good handle on what's happening in terms of people coming to live in Taupo. And every weekend you get 2 people from Auckland, Wellington and other places. You have to sort of experience to appreciate. Taupo, for some unknown reason, has, or what it is, but it's all changed in the last 2 or 3 years. And that's the future I'm talking about going forward, that you've got to design for. Up until now, you talk to people from anywhere about Taupo, they'll don't seem to worry about that anymore. I've convinced them we can warm their houses properly. So all I'm saying is make this decision. I think things have changed, and you know this, Rosie. You're in the business. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing the same. Yeah. So.
Very good. Thank you for your time this morning, Doug.
Judy.
Okay, Carrie, who have we got next? 317, Mr.
It's popular name this morning.
Yes, it is. You're right. All right, David, we've got your...
I've been in Taupo for 32 years. I've been in retail here for 20, retired for 12. I've been treasurer for the Friends. My presentation isn't just about where council staff should be housed, but more importantly, where this large award-winning town is going to be in the next. Third option was because you had to include that in your application to make an amendment to the 10-20-year plan. Your preferred option, 3-8 in the CBD. It is the most suitable site for a hotel. Best views, best room price, $300 a night per room every day of the year. You retain land ownership, lease to a developer and a hotel chain. We need hotels. Queenstown is reviewing 3 additional hotels with 600 beds. We have none. We need that site for a hotel. We need Lake Terrace site for a hotel. You dispose of those sites, we won't have any hotels. Your recommended development has no return and will be unoccupied for 1/3 of the year. No weekends, Easter, Christmas, creating a dead building. It is suggested incorporating a bus depot. Who wants 25 50-foot double-decker buses coming through our town? Our CBD, coming through our CBD every day with zero income generated. Another example of a dead building in Taupo CBD is Gillespie Plaza in Hugh Street. It's the only occupant in 20 to 25 years is you, the TDC, for 1 or 2 years. which involved a huge cost to put a cable from Lake Terrace to Gillespie Plaza. I'll now go on to traffic flow. We need proper traffic flow and enhanced pedestrian access. Enhanced to Wharetoa Street through to Tamamutu Street, all like Huhu Street. Better than Horomatangi Street, no bumps, 30 k's, and you park and pay. People movement can be incorporated by introducing golf cart trains carrying 20 people. These trains will thread their way through the town, going to the outskirts where people will be parking, bringing them into town. Pick up, drop off, no charge. They can be driven by volunteer retirees. One-way traffic. We incorporate one-way traffic into the CBD. Drive in from Ruapehu Street and out onto Tongariro Street, which is northbound only and one way from Huhu Street to Spa Road. Tongariro Street is half traffic and half pedestrian. From Huhu Street to Lake Terrace intersection is no traffic. Perhaps allow Wharetoa Street traffic to sneak around onto Lake Terrace. Keep our town moving and pedestrian friendly. Discourage cars, not encourage. You will never be able to provide sufficient parking ever. My preferred option 4, build a multi-purpose building on the southern domain, the ground level complex to facilitate the present Women's Club, Rotary House and multiple other events. Council staff on the first or second floor. They are the ones that regulate our town and district, so they should be close at hand and enjoy the facilities of the CBD and the domain. You can incorporate the Emergency Operations Centre, which would be close to our police search and rescue facility, which makes complete sense. Museum and Art Gallery. This building will extend to incorporate the Museum and Art Gallery, designed for the museum exhibitions, which are unable to be presented at the present time, and art gallery exhibitions, which are very successful but have limited application. The building will be on land presently occupied by these facilities and will include dead areas within that present facility. You will never get another opportunity to build the museum and art gallery at this costing again. With lowest interest rates ever, this should reduce your average annual rate impact even further. You must not leave this decision to our young generation to tackle in 10 to 20 years' time. Nothing will happen until then if this plan is not adopted, resulting in a complete disaster for our town. Thank you. Shane Jones has billions for regional development. Our central location is pivotal to North Island communication. Our town will prosper, improve exhibitions at the museum and art gallery, will encourage younger participation. Support from Lotto will be possible. They are big supporters of the art, and Taupo have been big contributors to Lotto, and I know that from first-hand involvement. What is the southern domain? The area in question is buildings, roads and parking. That's not a domain. That's not pedestrian friendly. That's not giving pedestrians access to the boat harbour. Read your own advantages for the option 4, and the disadvantages are irrelevant. What initiated this project? In February last year, a master plan was developed for the Tongariro domain because of a real opportunity to create a focal point for the community by including new cultural, arts and heritage facilities to replace the Taupo Museum. This plan cost in the vicinity of $300,000. What happened for this plan, preferring option 4B to be thrown in the rubbish and approved to Wharetoa Street? This expenditure should never have been approved. Look at the bypass road. Objectors said it will kill our town. Imagine 1,000 trucks, heavier and longer, coming along Lake Terrace and Tongariro Street today. All accommodation would be struggling. That would have killed our town. You cannot let that happen to our museum and art gallery. Look at Rotorua. Car parks everywhere, even down the centre of some roads. And what is happening? It is going backwards. Look at Hamilton. You've got a council building in the centre of the city and the surrounding area is dead. Look at Tokoroa. They've wiped out the town frontage, spending $3 million on a new toilet facility, an enhanced area for the buses that pass through, generating no income and practically destroying the retail area. Look at Wellington. Every road is full of parked cars going nowhere. They are planning a new conference centre opposite Te Papa, 1,500 people and no additional car parks. Keep the town moving. Lambton Quay, Willow Street, Manor Street, Courtney Place, no cars, just bus routes. Learn from their mistakes. This is our young generation, not us. Give them a head start, not a huge challenge to solve in 10 to 20 years' time. Our population in 1973 was 3 million. 30 years later, in 2003, we're 4 million. 15 years later, in 2018, we're practically 5 million. So how long is it going to take to get to 6 million? And we have nearly 5 million tourists coming into this country every year. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Very good. Thank you very much, David. Appreciate the time you've taken to put your submission together this morning. Okay, any points of clarification or questions of Mr. Reelstone? Councillor Body?
Nice to see you again. You've ticked the box for the Tongariro domain for our building, not too far Tower Street.
Yep.
You've made a comment here about hotel developments, not a building that's vacant for 1/3 of the year. Irrespective of where this building's built, would that not be the case?
Yes, but we're talking about being on the first or second floor. You can't rent first floor buildings in this town. You never have been able to, unless it's accountants or lawyers. And that's why Gillespie Plaza has been empty ever since it was refurbished. So you're not interfering with anything by putting council people on the first or second floor. It's the ground floors that create people. If you built in Tūwhare Tower Street and put retail on the ground floor, you wouldn't let it. It's hard to let retail space in town as it is.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor
So what would be on the ground floor of a building on the domain?
The Women's Club, the facilities that are using the Women's Club and the Rotary House and Conference Centre or whatever.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, David.
Just,
Any other questions, Councillor Jollins?
point of clarification, and good morning, David. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Rachel.
Just a quick question from me. So the main attraction for you, and a point of clarification, I guess, the main attraction for you for Tongariro Domain is the fact that it would act as a hub for cultural facilities and community groups, and effectively the council building or the CAB admin is the second priority?
Definitely, and the main aim is to open up our town, make access from the CBD to the domain. Sure. And that's why I'm suggesting that you block off Tongariro Street from Huhu Street down to Lake Terrace. Just that one sector, sure. And so that people can walk across to the domain. Tongariro Street would be half pedestrian and half traffic, and the traffic would just be going north. So you're keeping the traffic going round and round. Of course it involves eventually the new bridge coming into Spa Road. But you keep the traffic out of your CBD. It's not saying stop it, but if you want to come into town, you park and pay. You can imagine in 30 years' time, with all these electric vehicles, you're going to have parking meter type things on every car park there with the umbilical cord stuck out and then to charge their cars. Well, we don't want that in our town.
Sure. Okay.
Very good, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Very good. Gary,
Submission number 490, Les Wednesday.
490.
Yep, is assisted by Jeanette Harris. If you could please speak up.
Okay, sure. Good morning, Mr. Winslade. Les, how are you this morning?
Good morning.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes,
Good. And Jeanette, nice to have you here this morning. Okay, we've got your submission here. Would you like to talk to it, Les?
Your Worship and Councillors, thank you for hearing me today. May I introduce Jeanette Harris, who, owing to my severe hearing loss, if necessary, will act as my ears should councillors have any questions or comments to put to me. Before I start commenting on my submission, may I compliment council staff on the excellent job they made in putting together the Have Your Say brochure. I found it most helpful. First and foremost, why do I advocate council rebuilding at 72 Lake Terrace? Lake Terrace is by far the cheapest option rather than rebuilding 2 Wharetoa Street under option 3.1. Going solely on council's audited data on page 17 of the Have Your Say brochure would saddle Taupo ratepayers with an increase of no less than 700,000 in additional rates up to 2028 over that which would apply if council go back to new offices on Lake Terrace. Rebuilding on the 2 Wharetoa car park will cancel out no less than 100 all-day car parks, while the added traffic wishing to visit the new council chambers, plus council staff trying to park all day as close as possible to the workplace, will certainly worsen the current traffic congestion. Rebuilding at Lake Terrace completely avoids adding to our CBD traffic problems, with council staff happily going back to all-day parking on Lower Rifle Range Road adjacent to the new offices, and the general public occupying the front parking area which provided satisfactory in the past, plus there being ample off-street parking already there for all council vehicles. For the past 30-odd years, the general public have found attending council chambers at 72 Lake Terrace totally satisfactory. I envisage the new council chambers at the Lake Terrace site will provide a similar reception area as in the past in the old building, together with the building inspectors and the staff being housed in the balance of the ground floor and the whole of the rest of council staff being housed on the upper floor, which can be expanded out over a portion of the off-street parking area. Should councillors see sense in my recommendations above, then I see sense in amending the present all-day parking in the 124 car parks in 2 Wharetoa Street to restricted 120-hour parking, considering the high number of restaurants and taverns in the vicinity. Similarly, the Huhu all-day park, 116 car parks, being restricted to 60 minutes parking only. I do not propose to comment on page 2, as I believe it's self-explanatory, other than to say it is my sincere belief that should council leave the 2 Wharetoa car park intact but convert it to restricted parking only, that together with the Huhu Street car park, it can provide 240 additional restricted car parks daily. That may not seem much, but I can assure you that Taupo shoppers will appreciate the extra 2,000 to 3,000 opportunities daily to park their cars close to the shops of their choice. Thank you for hearing me.
Very good. Thank you very much, Les. Any questions or points of clarification for Les? Councillor Park.
Thank you, Mr. Winsladen. Lovely to see you here today. Just in regards to putting parking restrictions on all-day car parks, have you got an idea of how we might be able to provide for people that work in these
It's all covered
businesses?
on page 2, actually. We've moved the all-day car parks out one block into Horomatangi Street, Taumata Street or Parahapi Street. Those streets all have an absurd width of grass berm, the width of this room, which is totally unnecessary. I suspect that the original planners planning out the CBD area deliberately made those wide berms, knowing that when it's necessary they could be cut back to single berm width and herringbone parking put in there. So that it would mean that the shopkeepers and their staffs would have to walk an extra 100 metres to work in the CBD area. But in doing so, it means every extra car park provided, a restricted park provided in the CBD area means somewhere between 8 to 16 more people being able to park on each individual park. And if you multiply that by 240, there's my 2,300 extra opportunities to park in the CBD area.
Very good. Thank you very much, Les. Any other questions? Councillor Jollins?
Good morning, Les and Jeanette. Les, we've heard from some of the other submitters this morning about what they see are their priorities and aspirations for the district, and the point has been made that the CAB building is not necessarily, or the point was discussed that the building is not necessarily a top priority for the community. As a person who does a lot of discussion about matters of importance to the community and at St John's, I'm just interested in what you see are the priorities for council in the next couple of years. Sorry, it's a long-winded question. So what are the priorities for council? Is this a priority in your mind?
Apart from rebuilding at 72 Lake Terrace, I think the biggest priority is solving the traffic congestion in the CBD area. Recently we had Anzac Day and Easter came close to each other, and people took 1 or 2 days of annual leave and had a 10-day holiday. We've got some 7,000 holiday homes in the Taupo district, and in those holiday times our population goes up to 60 or 70,000, and it was tragic to see the cars circling round and round the blocks trying to find a car park. I believe that what I'm suggesting here is moving those all-day car parks, 240 all-day car parks, out a block and I think it would go a long way to solving the traffic congestion.
Thank you, Les. Councillor Boddy?
Once again, thank you, Les. We've had many discussions in your rooms about these issues of the building and traffic. In your submission, you've made comment that we could extend a building at 72 Lake Terrace over the existing council car parking. I'm just going to ask, through you, Mr Chairman, Mr Green, is that a separate title, or could that happen? Is the car park a separate title off Rifle Range Road?
There's 4 or 5 different titles on that site. I couldn't tell you exactly where they are. We can cover that in deliberations if you wish.
Yep, okay, thank you. But I'm just following up an idea you had about the extension of our building if it was built on 72 Lake Terrace.
I don't think any good architect would have any problem of extending the first floor out over part of that off-street.
Yeah, I was just clarifying the ownership of it. That was all with different titles. But we'll let you know.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Les, for your time this morning, and thank you, Jeanette, for coming along. Nice to see you again.
Tried to be short as I could.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Right. Gary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Moira here?
Submission 595 will never hit.
Okay. So 117's not here yet. Okay. So 595. Joanne second. Very good. Morning,
Morning,
Jane.
everybody.
Morning. Come and sit down and
My
relax.
design tutors would be rather unimpressed with me because I've had a computer meltdown.
Okay.
I'm winging it.
No problems at all.
If I get off track, I do have a condition that gives me a bit of cognitive dysfunction sometimes, so fair enough to
Yep.
insert the word or whatever else. Okay?
No problems, Jane. You've got the mics on,
Right.
so just talk nice and loudly into that. So
There was
you can put it
threatening.
closer to you if you like. Very good. The floor is yours.
Okay. I've had a look at everything. I've prowled the town and all the rest of it, and I think we're at a point where we really need to make some big, hard decisions and just go all out, because my suspicion is we're going to get a lot more people moving in permanently. There'll probably be more visitor numbers and everything else. If we don't sort our infrastructure, we're going to continue to react and muddle about. So if we want to link up the town, sort of the retail small business sector with the harbour, we're never going to do that unless we get rid of the impediment in the way, which is Tongariro Street. And I think other people have addressed that as well. And I also think a real issue is the Spa Road roundabout, and whether we could do some realigning of Redoubt Road there. And one of the reasons I'm saying this is traffic is a real issue. People coming out of Countdown are doing U-turns to go to Acacia Bay, but also in the future, police are over that area. In the event of emergencies and things, they need some better access out. I saw what happened when I was coming out of the library and I was at the lights, and police wanted through there. So Story Place, that was also an issue. So I think roading is a really huge issue. If we either close it down or severely reduce the size of Tongariro, we could maybe bring the marketplace in along there or develop it in other ways, giving us some more space there and maybe allowing people to connect between the two spaces a little bit better. We can't bridge over it because that'll put a real block in the way, and if we go underpasses, that's going to constrict access as well. So that's the rationale behind my thinking there. I do believe the domain should remain focused as a leisure cultural centre. I think it works quite well there. I believe we definitely need a museum. When I hear about all our treasures that are around the country and all the rest of it, I think it's important we house everything here. And I thought maybe another arm could come out on the existing Great Lake Library Centre, put out another arm, centralise a foyer area in the middle and relocate the eyesight. And that would also free up more space. Now, if we do that, we have potential for revenue. We can bring in gallery exhibition spaces. What I've really referenced there is Paraka and Porirua, which I've just been living out in Wellington for about the last 10 years. And Paraka works really, really well. There's a cafe, the library, exhibition spaces, a permanent gallery shop, and the council all gets a take off all these things. So that could be a potentially useful thing. And I believe that would draw people in. When I see how Paraka's so busy all the time, I think that could be a positive thing for us. Moving on to Wharetoa Street. I think we could make that a transport hub. Get rid of the issue of people queuing in the rain for the buses and get rid of some sort of messing around on Tongariro. And I thought of it from an aspect of a revenue situation. If we make a transport hub, I don't know if many of you are familiar with Auckland and good old Britomart back in the day. You had car parking, you had the bus station, you had the restroom, a few convenience stores, and for the time it actually worked fairly well. I'm thinking maybe we could do something like plonk the taxis there, the shuttles could operate out of there, buses local and nationwide, parking, maybe long-term, medium-term parking. And yes, people can't get everything for free, so I think we should introduce a charge there for parking. But there, it sort of seemed a good fit, and I thought maybe the eyesight could be relocated there as well, because travellers are needing information, and maybe that could work, so therefore my cultural bits get a bit more space. And then trucking along, I think I'd like to see the council back at Lake Terrace. I think it's a really good site. We've got existing use, there's good parking and access, and the concern I have is if you build something in the domain, if uses change, you may just have an asset that becomes a liability because it can't be realised with the usage that the domain has. If we just stick to council business, instead of trying to be all things to everybody, we can fit everybody in Lake Terrace. And whilst it's nice to have affiliated organisations on site, do we not have an issue with privacy and confidentiality with council business that may be overheard by others that shouldn't be privy to it? And I feel that council needs to run the town and essentially stick to your knitting. And it is important. Initially I thought, yeah, what do you need to have the best seat in town looking over the lake? But it is a civic administration. We do have visitors, we do have people, and it's important you're in a reasonably prominent position. And while we can't plan our town in terms of emergencies, what I like the fit of is if we did have a moderate earthquake or something like that, you've got fire right beside you. And there will be a big linkage between fire and civil defence. Plus the access is a lot better. I do wonder if you site yourself in Tūwharetoa or the domain, and you're building, what is it, IL4 is the standard. The whole area around you could be a total write-off, and you might be the only building in the middle of no man's land. It may not actually achieve a heck of a lot for you. So I think that's pretty much it.
Good. Oh, well, thank you very much, Joanne.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time and your good thoughts this morning. Questions of Joanne? All pretty straightforward? Okay, Councillor Boddy.
Thank you, Joanne. One of the things I like about these submissions or hearings such as this, we get new ideas from people that may not have submitted before. So if I could just come back to your original submission that is in our documents here, you've made a couple of comments about amenities lacking or deficient, and then you talk about opportunities to create revenue. What were your thoughts along those two subjects?
The revenue bits are more or less what I've explained now, looking at, say, having a Patika type situation here. They have rentable galleries, workshop spaces, the cafe, the gallery shop, things like that. Oh, that was the other thing too, sorry. The old museum building I thought could be turned into a cafe and rentable studio space as well. But instead of getting rid of the rose garden, maybe we incorporate access better out to the rose garden and also the Chelsea garden. But yeah, there's lots of opportunities, and I think we seem a little bit afraid to make people pay for what they use. And I think we need to adjust our thinking. Somebody
good.
has to pay for these things and these facilities, and we need to find ways rather than just the ratepayer having to fork out.
Lovely. Thanks,
Yeah.
Joanne. Anyway, quick, Councillor Harvey.
Good morning, Joanne, and thank you for coming in. You mentioned a few things, and one of them was the bus stop facilities. You mentioned that. Do you see that as a possible situation where it could be combined with a building somewhere?
Well, that's what I propose in 2 Wharetoa Street, make it a transport hub.
Yeah.
You could maybe go low-rise 1 or 2 levels, bit of subterranean. I mean, I don't think it needs to be a huge sort of thing, but incorporate, like people, if they're coming in from out of town, may need a taxi to get to their next bit. So if you've got everything linking in there, plus a few services, like restrooms and convenience shops, all that could link in, but
I
get
wasn't
rid of
sure
it off
whether you meant
Tongariro.
a standalone thing or something with a council building. Was that you were just talking
I don't
standalone?
think the council building should be there, because I'm convinced that when we have an earthquake, all the gas lines are going to be disrupted and it's going to be an issue. It could be Wellington thinking, which I haven't got rid of yet. And every time the wind blows, I think I'm back there.
Very good. Thanks very much. And thank you, Joanne. Appreciate your time today.
Right, cheers.
All right. Catch you later. Kerry.
We've received apologies from Karen Avery. She's not able to attend.
Okay.
We'll move ahead to submissions 632 and 676. Lorraine Chalmers-Smith.
Yep.
That's a personal one, and for Taupo Art Connection.
Okay, great. Morning, Lorraine.
Morning, guys. How are you all?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Come and sit down.
Thank you. I've written
Appreciate your
my
time today.
submissions so I don't miss anything out.
Okay.
when I'm
No
talking,
problems.
So I'll read to that.
Sit down if you like, Lorraine.
Right. Right. Okay. Here. This is the amount of space allocated to art for each ratepayer in Taupo. That much. Right. We're renowned for our sporting events, but what do supporters of these athletes do once they've had a coffee, looked at our clothing in $2 shops and visited the 250 square metres of art space? Art is the soul of a town, and sadly ours is lacking. Presently, the highly political word in Parliament is well-being, and this has been addressed right now at this high level. Importantly, it is one that also needs to be addressed at local body level. Council needs to look ahead to the next 50 years, not just by the incumbent councillors. You are our elected representatives and charged with making decisions, not just for your term, but also for the long term. This is vital for our future growth in all aspects, and particularly for our well-being, which includes the arts. This has been highlighted by our latest art trail over Queen's Birthday weekend. And I'm sure you must have seen it. I don't know that I spotted any of you in our studio, but it was an extremely successful weekend. Taupo Art Connection had almost 100 artists exhibiting their work, and this exhibition coming from a very small organisation within our community. So we're just one of many art groups. One gallery alone had over 500 visitors, and at least a third of them were from out of town. The Active Arts building is bulging at its almost derelict seams, endeavouring to satisfy artists of varying disciplines, having workshops, exhibitions, and catering almost daily to art and pottery enthusiasts. The needs of our town are forever expanding, and running parallel to this, we need a dedicated building for our museum and art gallery. At the very least, this dedicated building needs to be on the council's long-term plan. The existing museum and art gallery is totally inadequate now, and the building is fast approaching its use-by date. A possibility, I was thinking about the buildings, and I thought a possibility is relocating the library, maybe to the Great Lakes Centre, and the library housing the museum and art gallery, displaying local art, artefacts, and holding exhibitions and workshops. It would be an ideal spot. It's on the main street and access for the public is readily available. The council and art representatives need to get together and talk about how this can be achieved, and with positive collaboration, our needs can possibly be satisfied. And I think if some of the councillors got together with some of the art representatives, we could talk about maybe getting private funding for part of a building if the library or whatever was not available, and talk about doing something together with a group of artists so the council don't have to take on the full cost. I mean, that's a possibility we could look at. So, however, it is now time for you, our elected councillors, to recognise this need, stand up and do the right thing by your constituents and be known as the Council of 2019 who put some soul into our community.
Great. Oh, thank you very much, Lorraine, with your passionate submission here this morning. I'm sure there might be a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yep, cool. Okay, questions of Lorraine. Councillor Harvey.
Hello, Lorraine. Nice
Hello,
to see
Councillor Harvey.
you. You mentioned about the library perhaps being relocated to the Great Lakes Centre. Look, it's not a bad thought, but where would we do that, do you think? Have you got thoughts on that?
Well, I had thoughts on the theatre. The theatre is really the main part of that building. I know we get use out of the other rooms, not a tremendous amount, and it always looks as though it's closed. You know, to find anything there is quite difficult. And the theatre is really inadequate. And if the council looked to building a larger complex, just as a theatre, which could be used for out of town, you know, people coming in and wanting to give talks or whatever, and it could have a multi-use, and being layered, you know, it would be a perfect theatre not only for shows but for people coming in to talk.
So you mean the other area, the east wing?
Yes.
Which it is used a lot for functions and broken down into sections and big do's. Do you mean that area, or?
I had thought of that area, yes.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Jollins.
Good morning, Lorraine.
Hello.
Just one quick question from me, and just in terms of the council building, you indicated 72 Lake Terrace as your preferred option. Could you just expand a little bit on your rationale for that location?
Well, it was the location choice I had. My choice would be for you to go up on the Napier Taupo and build all up on that land that you've got up there. However, that wasn't an option in that submission. And I thought there was perfect. And I think it was said before, parking is a real issue. I think retail space needs to be retail space. And I think actually how you've got it set up now with different areas, I don't know. For me, I think that works well. We've got the office down by the post office. But, you know, you could have your main building down on Lake Terrace. I mean, it was there, I think, to get there for people to go and pay accounts or to go and see planning or whatever. We don't have to fight for car parking. It was very accessible.
And thank you for your comment about solar community.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, thanks very much, Lorraine. Councillor Boddy.
Just very quick, thank you for that, Lorraine, and it's going to be mentioned in the next submission. You talk of a new build, but when I went through all the submissions, it was interesting that a number talked about the museum and that building and the arts being a heritage building. So where's the catch? As councillors, we may make a decision, who knows, as to what needs to be done. Is the heritage status of that building important?
Well, I think it's important, but I think as a heritage building, it's not. It's really not fit for purpose for art. I think it could be used for something else. I don't know, some sort of, well, I don't know, another coffee shop or whatever. We seem to have a passion for those.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Thank you for your time today, Lorraine, and appreciate your time and submission. Thank you. Carrie.
Submission number 678, Christine McGill, we will speak to the Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery.
Okay. 678, Roger Marshall, and Christine will be talking to it. Okay. the Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. Everyone okay? Jen. Very good. Good morning, ladies and
good morning.
I think gentlemen. Back again, David. Very good. Okay. Right, we've got your submission here. The floor is yours.
Yes,
Christine,
good morning, Mayor David.
Good morning.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor Rosie, and good morning all councillors and also to all staff. Some of whom are managers and some of whom are CEOs and some of whom are really hard-working people in the background that don't have a profile. But as we all know, the people that work hardest in this building are always the staff. I've been given the short straw this morning because our president, Roger Marshall, is overseas. Isn't he lucky? And for whatever reason, he's asked me, and I'm one of the newest members of the committee, to present the submission. I think perhaps it's to do with the fact that I've been in Taupo and watched the development of the museum and art gallery from the very beginning. I've also been a councillor representative on the District Museum and Art Gallery. And I've also watched with great interest the difference in the way in which the Museum and Art Gallery has been governed and managed, on one hand, for the majority of the time by the private sector, volunteers, and on the other hand, since 2005, by the Taupo District Council. But before I go any further, I'd just like to ask my fellow committee members to introduce themselves and tell you how long they've been associated with the committee and with the Museum and Art Gallery.
Sure. Who would like to go first?
I'm Mary Quayle.
Mary?
I have been in Taupo for 5.5 years and I have been a member of the Friends of Taupo Museum and Art Gallery pretty much ever since I arrived here, and I've been on the committee for 4.
Great. Oh, good morning, Mary. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Very good. We know these other two too, I think.
Oh, David Rillstone. I've been a friend of the museum for, I don't know, probably 25 or 30 odd years, and the treasurer for might be 13 years since the council took over the management.
Very good, David. Thank you. And Meryl?
I'm Meryl Lee, and I've been involved with the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery for many years. Almost forgotten how long. Yes, I'm here to support.
Great. Nice to see you, Meryl. Thank you.
And perhaps before I start with the submission, I need also to say that the Friends of the Museum and Art Gallery Committee are very, very democratically run. And we have one committee member here today who has given you a different view individually from that of the committee. However, it's the majority of the committee's submission, and David has very kindly chosen to come and sit with us, and of course everybody's views are always interesting when you're sitting in your seats. I'd like to start off by saying that I hope you have all read the attached information to our submission, and that is the survey that the Friends undertook, both by email and also by post, as many of our members are not on email, they're elderly. A survey that we undertook to assure that we had a mandate to proceed the way we are proceeding today. And if I can find it. Oh, look, I'll leave that because you've actually received that, and I presume you've seen the questions, and we had unanimous support that we proceed along the lines that we proposed. So this is not just a committee's presentation. It's a very democratic submission. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that the Taupo District Council has sought public feedback on the future of the Taupo Museum in this April-May 2009 round of public consultation. but only regarding two completely inadequately informed informed options. The attached survey document, if you haven't read it, I do encourage you to, explains the reasons for the Friends describing the Taupo District Council's two survey questions as inadequately informed. For example, in Taupo District Council's public consultation document, it is seriously misleading that Taupo District Council does not name this important multi-purpose Taupo District Council run civic facility correctly, i.e. the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. And I'm very glad to see your communications manager here today, and I hope that that will be corrected left, right and centre all around Taupo and in all future documentation, official documentation. Secondly, in their consultation document, Taupo District Council provides only two future options for the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery, i.e. to build a $22.4 million new museum on the Tongariro domain somewhere, or do not build a new museum. The status quo, our TDC's preferred option. Now, I was absolutely amazed, having read all the submissions, to find that a considerable percentage of the citizens who returned submissions voted for a new museum, because the only information you basically gave them was it was going to be 22.4 million and very little other information. You've got yards and bags full of pretty pictures and all sorts of commercial breakdowns of 4 council building options, but quite frankly, fat all about what this 22.4 million so-called museum and art gallery would provide or would consist of. And a number of submitters have pointed that out to you, which I was delighted to see. Council's changed preferred option for CAB in the same consultation document is also potentially publicly misleading in terms of how this CAB site change relates to the future of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery's tick box option. That is, Council, by changing their earlier preferred site choice for CAB from the Tongariro domain to 2 Wharetoa Street, can apparently then simply ignore all its other 2018-19 proposed cultural precinct improvements on the Tongariro domain, including a Taupo District Council proposed new museum. And one of the interesting things about that is, where did the term cultural precinct come from? I've been back through every single documented agenda item, and I've been carefully back through all the activities of the Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery, and it just seems to have been dreamed up and popped in without any respectful consultation with the Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. Perhaps you would like to answer that question yourselves. Where did the so-called cultural precinct come from? It certainly didn't come from the Friends. It appears not to have come from any elected representative in this council chamber today. Why was it invented? There were a lot of unanswered questions. So we're very concerned about the publicly misleading TDC cases and tick box questions published in the consultation document, particularly regarding the incorrectly named so-called museum, all of which, as I've said and just explained, was undertaken by council without specific consultation with or reference back to the local community's most interested party, the Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. Now, I would like to add to that and say that probably Ngāti Tūwharetoa are also an equally interested party in this. And whether they were consulted with or not, well, hopefully you know. The Friends are also very disappointed that the Council's stated preferred option for the future of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery is literally to do almost nothing. As we understand it, during the next 10 years, there is only $57,000 budgeted capital expenditure by TDC for minor work on the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery building. Very minor. Very, very minor when you compare it to the $500,000 plus spent on consultants trying to help you work out what you should be doing and where you should be going in relation to your future council administration building. $57,000 maintenance on a historic building in 10 years is almost laughable. I don't know how whoever put this up got away with it. As we understand it, also, the last significant capital expenditure by Taupo District Council on the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery building was in 2005, 2006. I remember it well. Mayor David, you would remember it well. You were on council at the time. Councillor Hickling, you would remember it well. 2005, 2006 is rather a long time ago. And Councillor Jollins, you know all about this, and you've been a wonderful help to the Friends, thank you, in the time that I've been involved on the committee. To add to that, for your information, the last significant expenditure was actually on the Aura Garden of Wellbeing, and most of it, of that project's costs, not all, but most of it, was paid for by local community donations and sponsorships, sought and raised by a successful Friends fundraising campaign. And David, you would remember that very well. Mm-hmm. Both the Nick Carroll report, the introduction to the consultation document Issue B, the museum, and information presented to the Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery to Council on the 27th of February last year clearly set out the deficiencies, challenges, issues relating to the current museum building, which councillors have been made well aware of previously. Some of those deficiencies are written into your consultation document. Council's preferred option, therefore, to do nothing financially for the future development of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery for the next 10 years is obviously intended to be your fiscally neutral option. Referring back to the fact that TDC has been made fully aware of the challenges, deficiencies and issues not addressed in the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery, it should be obvious to all that to do nothing about the museum's development for the next 10 years is simply not an option. And I'm going to add something to that, and this is a personal opinion. It's not an intelligent option. The Friends, therefore, respectfully suggest that the Council needs proven, external, professional specialist help to determine which is the best and most locally appropriate and affordable way forward over time for the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery's sustainable future. At this point, I would like to recognise that you have employed an independent consultant who is highly respected throughout New Zealand to assist you with your plans for the museum on the domain, and the Friends had to request council for that person to come and speak to them after all these pretty pictures were drawn by architects and landscape architects linking a museum to a council building on the domain. We think that to achieve a locally acceptable and professionally undertaken feasibility study and a strategic development plan, both to underpin and to guide the sustainable development of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery over the next 10 years, we urge Taupo District Council to make sufficient funding available in the next budget, that's 2019-20, and the following budgets, both within this long-term plan, as an amendment, a seriously constructive and positive amendment to enable Council to address constructively the best and most locally appropriate and affordable way forward for the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery during the next 5 to 10 years. A brand new purpose-built building is probably the most desirous option, but the Friends are practical people. They've been involved in fundraising for years, and we are mindful of the cost benefits to the ratepayer and the district as a whole of a new purpose-built museum, alongside all the competing other demands for council funding. Therefore, in the public interest, and I'll say that again, in the public interest, the Friends therefore request that the funding sought as 2 TDC financial funding amendments to this year and next year's annual plans within the current long-term plan that you are currently seeking to amend, as we've set out in point 9 above, we ask that this money be used for proven specialists to investigate feasible and viable options for the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery redevelopment or totally new development. We're not specialists, and quite frankly, none of you are specialists in how to develop a sustainable Taupo Museum and Art Gallery for the future. We want to support that. We want you to support that. We need expert advice, and we ask that you fund that. Not in 2029, but now. And the following year, please. We have no particular opinion on how this new facility or enlarged facility or combined new and old facility may be developed. What we are certain about is that the Museum and Art Gallery is well located currently. We'd like to find out from the best people available how we can get up to speed with other provincial towns and cities in New Zealand and stop sitting back and thinking about it. Point 12, these are the advantages of the current Taupo Museum and Art Gallery remaining for the immediate future on its current site on the Tongariro South Domain. It's very popular. There's ample space on the recreation reserve to the south, behind the current building, for at least a stage 1 extension, if that is what the specialists, the experts come up with. There is less cost on ratepayers with stage development as opposed to a new building. There would be less impact on the domain as a whole and to current domain occupiers and activity, with the museum retaining its present location. And I would love to go through the submissions and put them against members of Rotary and users of the Rotary building and members of the Women's Club and check out whether or not all those people voted against a new museum because they believe it would involve their buildings being removed. So I think you need to look at your figures with a little bit of caution. You put out there and told the world that a new museum would demand the Rotary Building, the Rose Garden, and whoever else, Taupo Women's Club and the bowling club and the tennis club would all have to go. So we're saying we're interested in remaining in a similar site and developing to the south. And that was a Ngāti Tūwharetoa agreed site for future development. And there is a letter somewhere in your council files, I can't remember when, I'm sorry, it's somewhere between about 2000 and 2005, that Ngāti Tūwharetoa agreed that the area to the south was the ideal position for the development of a museum and art gallery to house their precious tonga because it was in sight of the lake and mountains. Mr. Chief Executive, perhaps you could find that letter and make it available to all your elected representatives. Going on, the advantages set out for option 2 in the consultation document to build a new museum would apply if it was on that site, and that the ongoing protection, care and display of the district's heritage would be increased with purpose-designed facilities in a new development. Ngāti Tūwharetoa would have the opportunity, as your consultation document says, to perhaps, if they choose, bring back their precious tonga, and any development, whether it's new, extended or whatever, the last point on the second to last page, would increase public access to local heritage resources. I don't know whether any of you have ever been up to the archives. I don't know whether any of you have seen inside the limited storage space in the current museum and art gallery. You would be amazed what is not accessible currently, because the storage space in the current Taupo Museum and Art Gallery is so inadequate. There's all sorts of paintings, all sorts of things, fascinating things I'm sure our public would love to see. But unfortunately, the present tick box yes, no to option 1 or 2 does not allow for any consideration of the Friends' suggested option to be put before the public. You just said 22.4 million on a new museum or nothing. Strange, strange. The Friends of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery wish to reinforce 2 important points to the elected Taupo District Mayor and Councillors. A redevelopment is essential if the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery is to continue to provide acceptable levels of service to the public, unlike what your consultation document claims. Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Who passed that? That the levels of service would remain the same within the same museum for the next 10 years. And in fact, to enable it to provide a number of urgent upgrades and improvements that the Friends have already outlined to you. Increased gallery size, increased specialist space, increased participation and engagement. I wonder how many of you have loved going to the different museums in different parts of the country when you've been on your holidays. And I wonder if you've come back and thought, oh no, we could never do that, because that's the feeling I get. There is so much potential here, so much potential to be realised. Look at New Plymouth. New Plymouth used to be a backwater. Look what the new museum and art galleries and culture has done for New Plymouth. It could be done here. The second point that we're very keen to explain to you, and I am reading this to you because in my 15 years on council, I am fully aware that not all councillors ever read all the submissions, and I'm sorry to say that, but I'm reading it to you for that reason. I'm passionate, the Friends are passionate, we want you to hear what we have to say. The role of the Ngāti Tū Whaitoa in Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. The Friends would like to help encourage a closer partnership develop between the iwi and Council with respect to the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. We consider that Ngāti Tū Whaitoa stories, their perspectives and their place in the history and the development of the Taupo district have great potential to be told and presented much better than at present. We encourage Ngāti Tū Whaitoa funding to supplement and or complement other potential funding needed to redevelop the wharetonga. We would like to encourage them to loan more of their artefacts for local display, and we would encourage them to have their tonga, currently out of town, repatriated. Those are goals that would need to be achieved in partnership and in good relationships. But point 15, this is not going to happen if the present building status quo remains as is. There is no spare space, it's not built for purpose, nor is it secure enough to hold irreplaceable treasures. Fact. Council, quite frankly, needs to be more diligent and show a more positive approach to the future of the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery redevelopment. We're in danger of missing the boat if you continue to ignore Taupo's main community focus on history, heritage, visual arts and culture. And I'd just like to quote from the end of the speech that I was asked to give at the 40th birthday of the museum recently, and thank you so much to those who came. And I'm sorry you will have heard this before. There were two quotes. It's about what museums are all about and art galleries. This one is from President Dr. Keith Cochrane, who in 1992, at the grand opening of the much larger refurbished Taupo District Museum of History, he summarised the significance of a museum to any community. He said, and I quote, "A museum is not a place of antiques and must-read history. It's a living place about the past, certainly, but also about the present and the future." Mayor David. The museum helps give a community its soul, and if a community has soul, it always has a future. The other quote I'd like to almost conclude on is from the author of the Taupo Museum's first 30 years, the late John Parsons. And you probably know John Parsons far better as a trout angler and writer of trout fishing books. But he spent a lot of time working in the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. And in his 1993 book, Dedication, he said, "The history of the Taupo District Museum of Art and History is dedicated to all those who've been at any time in the Taupo District and have left their record here, and to those having gathered together and preserved in the museum the records of the past." And this bit I think is really, really relevant. To those who preserved the records of the past, so that each generation in its turn may gain understanding of the past and from it may fairly judge the present and may look clear-sighted to the future. And I think it's probably those two quotes and the work that's been done over the years, privately, voluntarily for the Museum and Art Gallery, that the conclusion reads as follows. In conclusion, we suggest that Taupo Museum and Art Gallery warrants its own independent governance structure, reporting to but separate from the Taupo District Council and made up of skilled and talented board members interested only in a sound and sustainable future for the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery.
Very good.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time here this morning. Any quick points of clarification? Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Christine. Your Worship. Thank you, Christine. Having been the council rep on the Friends of the Museum and Art Gallery for 3 years, I can't speak highly enough of the volunteers and the people involved in those organisations, and currently and going back in the past. Obviously, we all support and want and need an upgraded new museum to potentially exhibit the taonga and all the for the Tū Wharetāua. The relation with Tū Wharetāua, as you've suggested, is quite right. Obviously, it's an ongoing. I understand ongoing discussions with terms of reference to get to some arrangement with Tū Wharetāua, which they have obviously a very important part. So thank you very much for a very good submission.
Thank you, John. Any other questions? Councillor Body?
Thank you, Christine, and your committee. I notice you've mentioned that figure of 57,000. I've gone into our long-term plan. I've gone into community facilities. I can find 10 for next year. The financial year started on the 1st of July for environmental control in the Tū Wharetāua Gallery. So I'm very interested where that 57 came from, unless it's in renewals. But my second question goes along what Councillor Williamson's just said. What meetings have you had with Tū Wharetāua in regards of a joint venture? Because I've heard through the grapevine, rightly or wrongly, that they may be doing their own thing for a variety of reasons. And I think we need that straightened out as quickly as possible, so then you know the way forward, and we do also. So have you had any relationship with them, the Trust Board?
I think it's best said that the Friends are there to support what is happening in the museum and how it is being governed. And it's only recently, with this extraordinary consultation document stuff, that we're standing up and saying, this is what we'd like to see. And that's what we've said in relation to Ngāti Tū Wharetāua. We have left the governance of the museum and art gallery, which is all of you people, to undertake that task. And my question back to you is, how many meetings have you had with iwi in relation to this particular point? It's a very good point, Councillor Body. Thank you for the question.
Councillor Jollins.
Good morning, guys. Just a quick question from me, and just a point of clarification. So what the Friends of the Museum is seeking is a commitment from the council to undertake a feasibility study and a strategic plan on the future of the museum and art gallery moving forward. So and that's correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. By funding that possibility over the next 2 years, because we believe it would take at least 2 years to do a full investigation and come up with the goods that will benefit the whole Taupo district for the long term.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing today is one of your biggest concerns with the way the consultation document has been written is that effectively the museum and any future development might go off the table if we don't make a commitment to a feasibility study.
That is absolutely correct, Councillor Jollins. There is nothing in there in your consultation document other than 57,000 for abysmally low maintenance of an old historic building, and you've wiped the floor with it in your preferred option. You said, no, we don't want to build a new museum. Well, I think the Taupo community and its cultural heart needs a little more respect and a little more encouragement financially to be able to become fruitful.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Park?
Yes, thank you. And yes, amazing work by volunteers is always a big part of the social fabric of our community, and I thank you all. Just in regards to the consultant that you spoke about, Christine, was that Wayne Marriott?
Yes.
Right. And also, when we talk about soul of our community and whatnot, just to clarify, the term cultural precinct is actually documented back to 2004 in council policies and plans. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not something that's recently come up.
Councillor Harvey?
If I could answer the question, please, that is absolutely correct. It goes back to a quite an expensive investigation undertaken in 2000 through to about 2004. Mayor David, you'd remember part of that. Councillor Hickling, I'm sure you remember that. You were thoroughly supportive of it, as you always have been. Thank you, of the future of the Museum and Art Gallery. I'm having an elderly moment, unfortunately. I can't remember the name of the consultant we called in to do that. Mayor David or Councillor
John
Hickling?
Luthart.
John Luthart reports, yes. Now, John Luthart admittedly got pretty carried away from the original brief that he was given, and we were faced with this enormously expensive new museum, which as the budgets for the bypass had blown out, they blew out I think every year, we had to put to the side. But there's some still very, very good work in his reports. And he was one of the major consultants to the new arts heritage development in New Plymouth at the time. Now, I don't know who the best people in New Zealand are at the time. I've been very impressed with Mr. Marriott. It's not for me to say who, where or why. What we're asking for as friends is, please, as current governance of this really important civic facility that you govern, please put some funding forward in the next 2 years to help the community, who will be obviously highly consulted with, I hope, determine what is the best future and the most affordable future for the Taupo Museum and Art Gallery.
Councillor Harvey?
Yes, thank you, Christine. Look, I'm not sure if you're aware of the original concept of where we started with the Tongariro Domain project. That was, just so that you can understand, we're all equally passionate about the museum and arts and all of that. And I just want to make sure, do you understand where that concept came from? It was a discussion between us as councillors as to how we could create something that was what we were thinking of at the time. So I just want to reassure you that the museum has always been a big part of our discussions, always. And once we know the feedback from everybody and the various options, my personal thought is that it certainly won't be discarded. We will look at other options as to how we can create that. It's always been, in my mind, and others, it's a very important part of the community. So that's where we need to go once we've sorted out the options. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Rosie. I'm very aware of how it started, where it started, how long it's been going for. And all I can suggest with a smile on my face is you should perhaps have written the consultation document, which has caused so much concern amongst the friends, members. In that survey, just to add to the points I've made about the survey, in that survey, quite a number of our members are absolutely horrified as to what you propose for the future Taupo Museum and Art Gallery. Absolutely horrified. And if all of you had been able to come to the 40th birthday party, and as I said, I've thanked you very much, you would understand how much volunteer effort from the community has gone into getting it as far as it got by 2005. And if any of you would like a copy of the speech that records that development so that you see that the people, not the council of this community, established and developed this museum to the point at which it was impossible financially for them to continue, then I think perhaps your consultation document would be a little bit more respectful of a community's cultural and heritage needs.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mary, and thank you, David, and thank you, Meryl, for coming today, and thank you, Christine. Very good. Kerry.
Thank you.
Question 350, Rick Cooper.
Okay, 315. Morning, Rick.
Well, good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, good morning.
Mayor, fellow councillors, and
Thank you for your
Taupo staff.
patience and waiting for us.
Familiar faces around here.
Yeah.
Never saw us at this table.
Yeah. Good to have you here this
now
morning.
That you've got my table. Hey, thanks for giving me an opportunity to address you all this morning. Today, hopefully, I'm going to demonstrate to you and show you why you should not be building on the 252 Street car park. Firstly, I don't really need to introduce myself, but I want to introduce myself as the representative of the following building owners and tenants. Burger King, Farmers Trading Company, both buildings, Plateau Restaurant, Number One Shoes, Turapaki, The Vine, Malcolm Flowers Insurances, and all the buildings up to Harcourts and around to Foot Mechanics. You need to bear in mind that previous councils allowed the CBD to go to 100% site coverage with no car parking requirements. So buildings such as where you, Deputy Mayor, have your business, the landlord's allowed to completely fill that section into 100% site coverage and all your car parking would be gone. That was done in the previous district plans. And you may not know that, but that is what you're allowed to do in the CBD now. In fact, we did one of the first developments where Turapaki, which is, if you don't know, it's a very well respected Maori organisation that work at Turapaki and do a fantastic job, A, for themselves and B, for the people they employ and the district. Wanted new offices and we built those right opposite that car park. And they have 18 employees that park in that car park every day. They wouldn't have gone there if they didn't have the car parks. In fact, I was talking to Malcolm Flowers the other day. His lease expires in 2020, that's next year. And if this car park's gone, he's gone. He will move out around here somewhere, he'll buy an older house, he'll titivate it up, make it nice, and have some car parks where his 7 employees that currently park in that park. Yeah. I was looking at you, sorry, Em. Too many parks. No, we haven't got enough parks, sorry. So, Farmers Trading Company. They've got 25 employees parking there, plus a lot of customers. And if you want Farmers Car Park, a Farmers Trading Company, to go and join Meg and Mitre 10, you would just given them the excuse and the resource consent permission to probably be able to do it. Because they need car parks for their businesses, such as Harvey Norman do when they want to come to town, and they will end up going to places like that where they can supply a lot of car parks. So, when I really boiled this down, I didn't really want to be above the radar after I retired in 2013. I wasn't actually kicked out, but I did retire. I think it was something to do with LV and CB. Anyway, so anyway, I am a building in the domain. I don't remember that one to you. Anyway, basically at the end of the day, all the ratepayers actually want you guys to do is build a nice office block that is friendly, usable for staff. It is safe, so if there's an earthquake or something, they can expect to go home that night to their families. We don't need all the bells and whistles. We just need good, clean, modern, safe working environment for the employees of this council who are employed here. So, when you really boil it down, you start to look at your document. And I'll take you to page 7. And page 7 clearly states that for the council to have all its little quango things, DGTs and EGTs and all sorts of things, that they need 2,520 metres square. 2,520 metres square. And it's made up there what they need it for. So then you start to have a look at some of these photos and these pretty little pictures everywhere. So then you take a picture like that and you take that to be a 6-foot man and you extrapolate it into this picture. These are 14,000 square metre sized buildings. Look at them. But you only need 2,500. What are you going to do with the rest? This is just crazy stuff. So, my preferred option, obviously, is Lake Terrace, because I've taken the liberty of printing off quite a few facts that I'll just pass around. So I heard someone say before that Lake Terrace is in 3 or 4 titles. Well, actually, it's not. It's in 1. And that title is, and I'll pass this round to you, is 3,617 metres square. Now, even if you had 50% site coverage, that's 1,800 square feet on the ground, square metres on the ground. And if you put a 2-storey, it was 3,600 square metres in total. And it's on what I would suggest would be one of the best sites in this town. And I served 6 years for my community as the mayor, and never once did I hear comments like option 2, disadvantages. Inconvenient location for the public. Well, I spent 6 years and I never heard anyone tell me how inconvenient the place was. It had good parking. It had a beautiful vista. It looked over the lake and down to the Tonga, the mountains and everything like that. Very enjoyable times we had in there with citizenship ceremonies, overseas dignitaries, etc., etc. So someone's done a very good job with this document by trying to lead people along. My dad once said to me, you know, he said, son, he said, whoever's paying the band will get to hear the music of their choice. Says here it would contradict the district plan. It doesn't contradict the district plan. It's got existing use rights. And there is nobody in this town who's going to be against you building back on that beautiful site. It says here it removes vibrancy from the town centre. Well, let me tell you about some vibrancy for the town centre. I'm going to pass out another piece of paper. This here, if you don't know, is the building that we're building opposite Central Ford at the moment. Because you're allowed 100% site coverage, it's 100% site covered. It's 2-storied high. It's 2,000 metres square. It's only 500 metres short of what you guys need. Have a look at your own pictures, then have a look at this. This building was built by us. The land's worth about $1 million. The building contract, 2,000 square metres, is 1.9 million. So do your own sums. You want 2,500 metres square. There's 2,000 for 1.9 million. The figures in here come out of Enid Blyton's book. So I'm going to pass this around because there's something more important about this. This building was built for Miraka. Miraka are a sister Maori company that also operate at Mokai, and they are in competition with Frontiera. And they pick up all the milk and they do what's necessary to do with milk, etc., before it's used. They also are a growing company, so they leased the top floor of this building from us. And it was all done on the heads of agreements. The very day that you were in some court and decided that you didn't want to rent from tenants, Councillor Jollins' motion, etc., etc., and that your preferred option was to build at 2 Whaitoa Street, the Taupo time, the very day you did that, the Board of Directors was meeting at Miraka. And the Board of Directors signed it off. Yep, that's all good. We're in, 10-year lease, 5-year right to renewals. 2 days later, the Taupo Times, on the front page, stuck a picture of this. I don't know who drew these pictures, but whoever did, I wouldn't have paid the bill. Massive building here, this one, and they cancelled the deal because there's no car parking. So we now have an empty building. And they are now looking around on the outskirts of town here to find somewhere where they can house 30 people. So you just shot that vibrancy in the foot. You just took them out of town. Or maybe you haven't, because we might be able to pick this back up if we get away from this preferred option. There's a bit of something for you here, Anna. So, as I've just said to you, guys like Malcolm Flowers, people around there, if we lose that car parking, we're going to lose them. They're only tenants, they have the ability to be able to move. And then I read in the document, $0.3 million to put in 80 berm car park. Well, I've just done 3 circles of the blocks here to get the park. I'm actually parked on the berm that's got no grass or anything on it, it's just pure dirt on the other side of the road there. Because for $0.3 million, which is $300,000, I don't honestly understand why we're actually sitting here and we haven't got the contractors putting them in as we speak, because there are no car parks around here. All the doctors' surgeries, or where you give your blood and you go to anything else, lawyers and all sorts of people in those houses that have occupied those houses. Those berms are chock-a-block full right now. $300,000. You know, we set in motion, back in my day, our district plan where the ETA went in and all these sections out here, all this industrial land that you guys have sold, where's the money? Where's the money? Sections, bits of land have been sold for millions of dollars, and all you require is $300,000 to put all this in-berm car parking, and it needs it now, not just to, what's the word, not just to mitigate because you want to build on 25 Tower Street. Those in-berm car parks need to put in now. You guys know it and I know it. Just drive around if you don't know and have a look. So I took the time the other day to go down the old council thing, and I walked from there along that beautiful lakefront to Farmers Trading Company. It took 7 minutes. So I don't get this vibrancy thing. Where your disadvantages and your advantages, I think, are written by people that have an old ulterior motive, for the want of a better word. They obviously want not to go back on that site, and I really don't understand why. It's got a nicer view than this, and this has got a nice view. It's got an opportunity down there to help the reserve right alongside, because the in-berm car parking by the fire station only goes about halfway up the reserve. You could take the in-berm car parking right to the end, and the people going to play cricket and everything on Saturdays and Sundays and the weekend would have more parking. So the community would be better off. So then it says disadvantages. Waikato Regional Council staff and staff from DGLT, EGLT, TCT will not be able to work within the same building. This is because the district plan requirements would prevent us from increasing the building footprint above from what there's there before. Well, again, that's not true. You're being misled, because you said on page 7 you wanted 2,600 metres. You're allowed to build 3,400 metres. So every one of these disadvantages can be debated. And honestly, what the people want at the moment is to get ahead and rebuild that building. Down there, modern, nice, easy to come and go by, and it could be done a lot cheaper. And I'd be happy to help anybody with, we have probably built the most buildings in this town, in the CBD, with any sort of planning, because these numbers are just not right. And you cannot go and put 2 stories of underground car parking down there for $11 or $12 million, because that is expensive. And how is that going to work? You've got to think about how is that going to work. It would have to be gated, because the council cars have to be secure at night, don't they? So it would have to have a gate. So it would be a key entry or a swipe card or something like that. So that means you're going to have to charge for it, aren't you? If the public want to use it and I want to use it, we'd have to pay for it. At the moment, we pay a lot of, all those businesses down there pay a lot of rates, and one of the benefits they get from the rates, along with a multitude of benefits, rubbish, etc., is those car parkings that a lot of people with good foresight have produced from years ago. In fact, I'd like to see those car parks somehow or another made sacrosanct, that they're not allowed to be touched. Because when I read on here, option 2, and it says option 3, they say that the judicial review is a low risk. Well, let me assure you, it will be a high risk, because I'm the guy who will be doing it. And I don't mean that as a threat. We have to. We've got businesses down there that rely on those car parks. Without the car parks, you're going to strangle them. So when you look at those sort of things, and the fact that you can go down to Lake Terrace, build a building, that building there was $2 million. I would say you could build a beautiful building in Lake Terrace, air conditioned, done out like this, glass partitioning, and you do it under $7 million. I'm going to pass around one more piece of paper that was designed, how am I going to put this a little bit delicately. I was offered the RSA site some time ago. RSA, obviously we haven't had many wars for a long time, so its use by date sort of came and went, and I purchased that site. And then I started to draw a building, what I thought Taupo needed and wanted. And then I think it was my wife reminded me how old I was and stuff like that. So we won't be building any more buildings. This one here has been too stressful down here with Miraka and what have you. We will certainly keep the maintenance up on our buildings, including your car park, Rosie. I said we'll certainly be keeping up the upkeep on our buildings, including your car park. You sent me a picture the other day of a big hole. Another thing you guys need to remember too, you know, we sold that car park next to the Vine. There's 40 car parks that have been used as I speak, only by the grace of the person you sold it to. And it's in an abysmal state. The holes in there are big enough to be almost be called tomos. So that's either going to have to be repaired, and the new owner won't be doing that because he wants to build an 8-storey hotel. So it'll probably even have to be closed. But sooner or later, there's another 40 car parks that are going to be gone in that very vicinity. And people say to me, why did you oppose that 8-storey hotel? I said, well, primarily I did because hotels like that primarily will mostly have Asian tourists. I'm not against Asians, but Asians can't speak English and they can't drive cars, so they all go in 50-seater buses. So they're probably, can you imagine 5 o'clock at night outside the farmers with 3 50-seater buses trying to unload 100-odd Asian tourists? The first thing they'll do is get out and they'll have a cigarette and stub it out the footpath. Then there'll be suitcases. There's no provision. Do we want the shadow angles that's going to cast and the ice on the footpaths and what have you? So I hear through the grapevine that they'll probably get a watered down version of it, and even if we call that a 5 or 6-storey hotel, and you're going to take away this car park as well, that's just going to be absolute chaos down there. And that's what people like about this town. Someone previous to me said there's a lot of people moving into town, and they are. They're building all these houses on that council land out there and all these show homes, but they're predominantly the baby boomers retiring to Taupo. They love the fishing, they like the golf, they like the hiking, biking, tramping, the great outdoors. And we're in the centre of the North Island, so it's obvious why Taupo's a nice place to come to and why people are coming here, and the house prices in Auckland and what have you. But anyway, going back, I'm bouncing around a bit. So the Taupo RSA building is 1,800 or 1,900 square metres. It is bounded by your car parks. It will be on the market as per next Monday. You already know that. You've been offered it. This plan was drawn for that site. It's 5,400 square metres. The ground floor could be car parking. I'm not here to offer to do it for you. I'm not doing it. And that building has already been QF'd at $7.5 million. So I sort of read this, and I would never normally come and address you, good people. But I am very critical of whoever has put this together. You know, even those photographs, I mean, that's bigger than the Sydney Council building. Look at it. So I'll just look at my notes because I must be honest here, I've been really busy and it was last night I scribbled some notes down. Yeah, right, like I said, option 3. This picture shows a 115-foot long building by 50 feet high. Each one of those floors, if you look at that guy and call him 6 feet tall, is 20 feet tall. 60-foot high building. What do you want that for? Is this a building, is this a signature building or something? Oh, I'm not sure. It says council pool cars will be located somewhere else at no cost. Where can you guys get free parking? That's what it says in the document. No? I do believe option 2 is the best site. Look, it's been there for a long time. It's a great site. There's never been any of those disadvantages that people are coming up with. I've shown you, there's your, it's not in 5 titles, it's in 1, 3,600. I actually believe you'd be doing the town a hell of a big favour if you built back down there, put the in-boom car parks in here. I do think that you used enough money to be saved that you could appease the museum and arts people. I do agree with that. Normally visitors to any town, if I'm in America or somewhere, you go to if you're in Deadwood or Sturgis, can't see what the Cowboys used to do. I do think there's room for everybody, and but I think, you know, like even that underground car park at 11 million, you could probably build one hell of a good arts centre for that. A museum and arts centre, sorry, Kristen. I'm happy to take questions. And
very good. Thank you, Rick. I might get Rosie to take the questions. I've got a new kidney, so I've just got to go to the proverbial.
You can do it on your own.
Back in 2 seconds.
Right.
Oh, this is a far better view now, anyway.
Did you make that happen to his kidney?
Sorry?
Just then. Did you send him off then? I
Bit of
know.
the scary.
Anyway, thanks, Rick, for your very impassioned presentation, which is always really good. I was going to ask, my question was, if the site, Lake Terrace, was chosen, are you saying that we still need more car parking, or that would be suffice? What are you
I
saying
would
there?
say when this meeting finishes today, Mr Green should be ringing the contractors and putting this in-boom car parking in now, regardless of wherever you build. Because I said to you, and I say it again, I've just gone around the block 3 times to get a park to come here. And I'm actually illegally parked on some dirt outside. What's that restaurant over there? Korean restaurant, whatever it is. That's the only place I could find a park. So those in-boom parks are needed today, regardless of where you build. And what I'm also saying is if you built back on Lake Terrace, you will empty a few of the car parks that are currently being used by employees and staff and yourselves. And you could put more in-boom car parks in alongside the fire station there, which is going to help in the weekends when people are playing cricket matches and what have you. And what a beautiful place to work and be anyway. When we put the waterworks in, beautiful top we put on that waterwork, you go over there and eat your sandwiches for lunch right beside the lake. Why would you want to be in 248 Street? And it's your preferred option. I probably wouldn't have even come today if that hadn't have been listed as preferred option.
But bear in mind, we have to have it.
But in my 6 years, the preferred option normally is the one that won the day. So I get a little bit
we might be different.
Emotional about it. Oh, you lost your seatbelt.
And can you fix those potholes? Oh, did I say that out loud? It's all right. It's a standing joke.
But we are the most affected people by your choice of doing anything with those car parks. And also what you say in here, at 72 Lake Terrace, this leaves the council with the opportunity of doing something else with it in the future. Are you guys thinking of going into the motel business or something? Well then, what's this comment? It says here, gives the council the opportunity, advantages. It would free council owns the site. It would mean council could use 61 and 67 Chief for future. Oh, it's here somewhere.
So, Rick, you understand that if Lake Terrace was not the chosen site, it would then be available for sale?
Well, you're saying for sale. It doesn't say for sale in here. It says in here the wording is, I can't find it. It says here it leaves the council the opportunity to do something else with the site. And I thought, are they going to build a motel?
Gareth has got one here if he'd like to.
No, I just googled the Sydney Council.
We just wanted to clarify.
Sydney Council building.
Or maybe it's a Parramatta one. Or Bankstown or something.
I think it's 32 stories.
Or King's Cross.
You've got to have a sense of humour, don't we, through this?
Oh, you have to have a sense of humour to work in here.
Exactly. Yes, Councillor Boddy.
Thanks, Rick. It's nice to see you again. I lost my train of thought there for a second. That's a worry.
Christine probably just distracted you.
Yes, she probably did. Oh, what I was going to say that partway through the consultation process at meetings that those painting or those diagrams, whatever you call them, of those buildings were taken out of the equation. The public were told to ignore them, but that's not the answer. You're a successful business person. If you had the choice to build something for us, as an example, or lease a fit-for-purpose building if you're in business, which would you choose?
I wouldn't advise the council, I hope I'm answering this rightly, I wouldn't advise the council to lease. Seriously. Any investor or developer would have to get around 6 or 7%. You would be linked to something like probably CPI or 2 yearly reviews. They would sneak up over time. You can borrow money at 3%. You've sold all this land and stuff around this district for millions of dollars. I read this graph where they got the increase in rates and all this sort of thing, and I'm a little bit against that because if all that money's gone in the bank, if all these sections and stuff have been sold to pennies and ITM and all these people, then our rates increase must be a hell of a lot bigger than you're declaring because that money must have been soaked up somewhere. If you've repaid debt, which I hope you have, that was the initial intention, and your rate increases are still so much, it's just not equating in my mind. But when you can borrow money at 3% and you already own that Lake Terrace, yeah, I wouldn't rent. and I'm probably cutting my nose off to spite my face, but if I was council, I couldn't.
You're an
support
honest
that.
young man.
So if at the moment you could pick up between $300 a square metre and $380, and I think we're paying $188 on 5 or 6 buildings at the moment per square metre, and you sat down and had hard negotiations with those that had those buildings now that have a long-term lease, would that make it better rather than this 8%? I don't know where the 8% came from.
No, I still think if you get some advice from people, and I'm happy to give some advice for free or look at something and help you with it, but build your own building seriously. It's long term. You owe that to the people of Taupo, I believe. I don't believe leasing buildings would be palatable for most of the people in the public. And I think you've got the best site in town. I really do. The town is going that way. It can only go that way. There's a lake there. There's a river goes right round. And it's creeping towards. It's almost at the council old buildings now. That's the only way the town can go. Unless we want to go up, and I don't like that go up business too much. It's great in surface paradise because people, it's that hot, they want to get in the shade. But we're that cold, we want to get out of the shade, and we don't want icy footpaths and big towering buildings. Well, I don't believe we did. We did a district plan that limited to 3 stories. We sold that section down there to the purchaser under the auspices of the district plan, which said 3 stories, and now he wants to build 8. I mean, why do a district plan? We spent we had a lot of sausage rolls and spent a lot of time, getting to where we got. So, yeah.
Just to clarify, the sale of assets, it does go against debt.
Yeah, it reduces debt, but if you're
Yeah.
reducing debt, your interest rates are coming down, and yet we've still got these rate increases, so I'm sort of adding the two together, and I'm thinking, well, they're false figures, but we survive. If you've reduced debt, well, let's say you've reduced debt, just a quick, off the top of my head, I know what some of these have been sold for, let's say $15 million. All it means is that we borrow it back again and we'll be in the same position we were 3 years ago, and that didn't kill us. In fact, this town is, in my opinion, is the most successful small town in New Zealand, the way it is, and I'd hate to see, the car parking is one of the big things. I'd like to see you buy that RSA building. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to sell something, but I'm a little bit passionate about the town, and most people know that. I came here in 1971, Rifle Range Road was pumice. Our council building was in Story Place. I saw that building get built. I saw it get torn down. So I'm very passionate about it, and I know that you can go and buy the likes of the RSA building. That'll take 80 car parks on there. And how do I know it'll take 80? Because it's twice the size of the one you sold that's got 40 on it at the moment, the Vine, and it boundaries your other one. You'd be doing the town a favour, because the people that are coming to town are tending to be baby boomers. They're older. They need their cars to get around, to get to the shops. The staff need to have somewhere to park when they work. Otherwise, they're all out in these berms, and they're out here now. What I say to you, have a look around. You need to put those berms in now. What is those sections they're selling out there for about 200 grand each? 1.5 sections will put 80 berm car parks in. So don't pay all the debt off. Let's have a little bit of the cream for us, the subservient ones.
What? Any other questions from councillors?
Yeah, I just had one question, Mr. Cooper. In your discussion this morning, you highlighted some potential other sites. Some of the submitters in the submission process muted the idea of Waiora House and the area there for a potential site for council, and I was just interested in your views on that matter.
Yeah, I drove past Waiora House. I wondered what you'd do with it after it was pulled down. So I'm not sure of the legalities or what's behind it, but yeah, that would probably be a reasonable site. It's still an easy walk into town, but I asked myself, why would you go there when you've got that beautiful lakefront property that you've got dignitaries, other mayors and citizen ceremonies and all sorts of things, and that beautiful chambers we had, which wasn't too different to this, I might add. So I don't know why you'd go to Waiora House when you've got that site down there. Just to me, that asbestos issue was a bit like your house burning down. Well, the insurance company builds you a new house. Why do you have to move? And I think the excuses the reasons here, the disadvantages, I think are just a little bit mischievous to me. That it's, as I said, he who pays the band gets to hear the music of their choice.
Councillor Hickling.
I'd just like to say thanks, Rick, for being honest as a business person and saying that council should own its own building. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions of Rick?
We did 6 years together, so we know each other.
No, thanks for coming today, Rick. I really appreciate the straight up information. Appreciate the building that you've kindly given us a
Oh, you
good
pay
deal
us.
on here. So
You
we
do pay us.
I hope we are paying. We don't get behind, but hey, appreciate what you do for the town and everything, and certainly we'll be deliberating over these submissions over the next couple of days. So we'll be back in touch. But thanks again.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. It's even with the hotel recently and this, when you point out that how much of the neighbouring properties we own around there, I must say I'm really disappointed that we've never had a visit from anybody and even had it discussed with us. Although I think I have discussed it with one or two councillors here, but I might have been a bit too vehement about it. So anyway, thank you.
So we'll come and see you. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity
Thanks, Rick.
Of visiting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Righty ho. Is everyone? Are you okay? Carry on. Kerry, who have we got?
John Stall,
John.
681.
681. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to represent a minority of people in Taupo. I'm a newcomer and I believe it is a fantastic place to live. I believe that you should own your own building. You should go back to where you were down Lake Terrace. It gives you all the opportunities for views, etc., etc. Looking at the cost of living these days, and 17% of Taupo's population are over 60, it means that you can reduce the outgoings for that area of people. Even the younger people in today's society are struggling to meet all ends. And if you could retain the rates at a reasonable level without escalating, and everywhere in the country is going up. Auckland is a prime example that it's money grabbing all the time and not giving back to the population. That's really what I have to say. I believe you should stick to have your own building. As you know, Rick has pointed out that you can build at a reasonable price, somewhere between 2 to say 5 million. Have what you want, but go back to where you were. Or if you don't do that, go up into the industrial area. You don't need to be in town. Leave an office in town for people to go to pay their bills, etc., etc. But mostly with the council, I believe it's more commercial work, developers, so forth, wanting planned stuff, and that's where it should be away from central CBD.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Pretty clear and concise
Okay.
there. Yep, no, that's fine. Might be a couple of questions if that's okay.
Yep.
No, it's not a question.
Sure, Councillor Body.
Unfortunately, John, you've clicked onto the lease button as Rick did. Rick voted for a lease. Do you want that changed? Because it becomes part of the documents in the files.
To me, leasing is an option. It can reduce costs to a point, but I'm more than happy to go either way. I looked at leasing because I've had to lease buildings myself, and to buy a building, own it wasn't practical, so it's easier to lease. But as long as you can tie your lease into a long term with long-term increments of increase, not a 2-year update. And to me, if you leased a building, I'd go a 10 by 10, but no more than an increase every 5 years of 7.5%. Because that's what's going to happen with New Zealand. It's getting more costly to do. And talking to Richard Izard, he believes Taupo will become a better place than Queenstown. And I'm looking at what's happening here
Good.
as well, and I believe it's fine. Yeah, I could ramble on for quite a while,
No, that's
but
right,
I've
John.
done it without notes. I don't want the notes.
No, you're perfect. Perfect. You
And there are a few issues I'd like to bring up, but I'll leave that for another day.
can come and see us, John.
Christine knows exactly what I'm going to
Yeah, okay. Councillor Park. Oh, same track. Okay, cool.
You know, if you need a petition from my point of view and people I've spoken to, I could pick up 500 or 600 signatures quite easily for your building.
I appreciate that, John. Appreciate your positive comments about the district as well. And how long have you been here?
6 years now.
6 years, great.
Yeah, I don't know. You about the same four. So,
Yep.
you know.
Councillor Hickling's got a...
Just a comment, John. Are you aware that we have a public forum before our full council meetings each month that you can come in if you've got other...
No, I wasn't aware.
Yep.
I got this from what I'm doing now through a friend. I've made a friend, and he said, "Well, I said, were you going?" He said, "Yes," and then he backed out. He didn't want to. So I said, "Okay, no problem."
If you've got other issues that you want to raise,
Yep.
there is a public forum before our full council meetings each month.
The only one thing I'd like to be, and if you vote me in, I'd like to be a dog ranger, because the dogs need to be pursued.
Last Tuesday of every month, 1 o'clock. If you just give the council a call and we can put you on the list too.
And do we get lunch?
We'd love to hear from you. Sorry, what was that? Lunch.
Well, I hope I've sort of put my point of view for the majority of people in Taupo, because, you know, you've got 37,000 population now, and roughly 17% of that are over 60.
Yep.
And they're the ones who are struggling. You know, sure, there are some wealthy people within those percentage, but most of them are struggling. And then you've got the younger sector. So.
Good on, John. Thank you. Thank you for coming
today.
today.
New building down there on the Lake Terrace.
Okay. Appreciate you coming today. Thank you very much. Carrie. Jane. Great. Welcome, Jane.
Hello.
How are you, Jane?
Good.
Sit
thank
down
you.
and relax.
Oh, right.
And your submission number
Well, I'll do
516.
Yeah, I'll do the Lakes and Waterways one first because it's fairly self-explanatory, really.
Yep, so that's 588.
Hasn't changed at all from our original comments that we sent in some time ago. Looks like here, October 2018.
Thank
And
you. So
then,
that's the same as your original, the
similar,
original submission?
yeah, but what I've done
Okay.
here for the oral submission for your interest is I've added a few green building design concepts that are already in New Zealand and have been for some time. So I'll just go through the first paragraphs briefly that I've written here.
Very good.
So we're looking at civic development, obviously, and we want to promote sustainability, and we haven't seen any evidence of that in any of your documents to date where it's been highlighted. So that's something we've tried to advocate for through our submissions. And then, you know, this is a bit of a table thumpy moment, but we really think that we should look at how we can relate that through to the Climate Change Accord. There's already been a lot of auditing done, so that's commendable. And we would take that into building designs if you decide to do any building developments. So one thing, for both submissions actually, I think it was Richard Hoadley pointed out, I went on the art trail. In this form here, this really clearly says issue B museum, and for some reason, I don't know if other people have done this or not, when I look at my printed out copies of the one online, or maybe I just missed it, I didn't see it that, so for neither of these submissions did we even address that option, or mine or the Lakes and Waterways. It's just a note, I don't know why it was, probably me. The community has proven great foresight and some would say forbearance with the Lake Taupo Protection Project, and we really feel that there is a strong will towards sustainability and long-term planning that, you know, despite the political challenges that you all face with short-term fiscal planning, environmental sustainability requires vision and commitment. It's something that our youth are championing in the climate change sphere at the moment, and we have to think of those generations as we go forward, not just in terms of actual survivability of the, you know, with the resources that we've got here, but also in terms of just modelling really good practices. So it looks to me, from going online briefly yesterday and cutting and pasting a few of the things that I found there, plus for your reference some websites, that there are already green buildings. There are there's a raft of options around them in terms of the targets and what do they say here? The highest possible rating for environmental design. That's the one in Christchurch, which was built over an existing building pre-earthquake and has, in partnership with Ngāi Tahu, and is highly regarded as a green building with all these features that I've put in bold for you to refer to. So I won't go over it all now, but it's fascinating how many aspects of building design you can actually take on board that save you money and also practical and the stormwater guidelines. I just included this. It relates to your water supply strategy that Lakes and Waterways will be submitting on. We look forward to doing that. And it's about urban water capture as well as other aspects of stormwater in the other areas of the region, rural areas for instance. But urban water capture can use permeable paving like the dock offices, which was mentioned in our original submission. And this also relates to your draft road encroachment policy. I'm just bringing that up because this is a holistic kind of view that you're looking at now with long-term planning. So I'm just noting that, outside areas, whether they're paved for cafe seating, like as mentioned, it was in the little article in the paper recently, berms, I'm sure that's going to be another table thumping issue for Taupo residents. A lot of that, if you do choose to do car parking or any kind of paving, it can be permeable rather than hard surfaces. So that was just something I thought I'd just flag. And I'm just happy to take questions for Lakes and Waterways. We didn't obviously choose a design because we represent a wide range of people, and I didn't have any kind of mandate to do that.
No problem. Thanks, Jane. Any questions regarding the council body?
Thanks, Jane. It's not really a question, but we have a submitter number 684 who's not appearing. But that gentleman has written an interesting submission, and he talks about a German, it's called a German passive house,
yes,
which can save 90% of energy. It's well worth a good read.
Yeah, and
along the lines that you're talking about.
Don't you remember that gentleman I happened to come after at the actual long-term planning hearing, was it that one? And he had the idea for the geodesic domes and all the savings around that. I mean, anyway. The green building idea is not radical. That's what I'm trying to say. It's really proven now and doable. And using local materials is also a great thing for Taupo, showcasing out what we've got.
Cool. Okay.
Right, now the other hat I wear, of course, is my own hat, and with Doug, who was born and raised in Taupo. So I've lived here since 1994, and I was thinking back to my Auckland youth when Tim Shabot would have offered you jelly beans before he delivered some home truths to the Auckland City Council. And I thought maybe that was a bit non-PC, but I would probably offer you, well, what would you expect, kale chips or something, wouldn't I, from me? And I probably, I don't know if you've got a copy of this one in front of you. Oh,
yes.
Oh, yeah. So I have something in common with Rick Cooper. I couldn't find a car park today. It was really interesting that I just thought, there won't be that many people here, and I should be able to slip in somewhere, but it's difficult. And, I was thinking about those Auckland Council days because I actually worked there as an intern in the Recreation Department on the 13th floor. I think the Recreation Department was put on the 13th floor for some reason. Maybe it was the least, I don't know, contentious. In those days, you wouldn't, the hotels didn't have the 13th floor. But anyway, so Sir Dovemeyer Robinson was on the top floor, and he was passionate about light rail, infamously, as you know. And I think that there is this balance of vision. Visionaries should not be outsiders, really. They should be embraced. Whether or not you want to take anything I say on board, I just felt that I ran for council in 2007, and my blog site had a little mention of arts and culture and said, does Taupo need a purpose-built, hands-on arts facility for its ever-growing community of arts and craftspeople? Now, we've got the active arts building, but really, it's got carpet in it. There's only so much you can do. I know there's pottery in the back, but we had the Children's Art Club, you might remember, some of you, years ago at Waiora House. It had linoleum, it had a big sink. It was just big enough for our purposes with a big cupboard that we could drag stuff out of, and it was affordable. This is what we want to see. That's what I want to see. It's not just the big galleries and the big museum and the showcase buildings. It's also those community buildings, which in all of your designs on the Tongariro domain, I remember the council building had some spaces for community, but what are those spaces? Are they just compensating for the Rotary Club disappearing, which is an expensive venue? The women's room's expensive. Even your even if I wanted to teach Tai Chi, which I do for falls prevention, I'm using the croquet club is the cheapest one I can find. The access is not suitable for elderly. And I'm wanting to offer affordable classes in falls prevention for a growing population of elderly people sometime in the future. But at the moment, it's not cost effective for me to even break even to do it. And so some of you have heard this before, but our preference would be to keep that existing museum building as a community space. It has good access, it's people scaled, and it could be a wonderful, amenity. It would also address this idea of having the civic heart and this connectivity. And I don't know if many people have thought of this, but it's got the beautiful Aura Garden, which is still and can continue to be a function space of sorts. If there is a new museum adjacent or near on that other site there, I think that's where you're thinking of putting it, with the views and the cafes and the gallery spaces. Well, that's wonderful too. And I think, I'm not sure if the money from the government is still on the table, is it? Is it possible to do that building? That's a question to you, without incorporating the administration building. Anyway. And then there's the thought about the Waiora House, and what I'm not sure if you've got any plans for how to. But maybe the existing museum building could be upgraded for some of those purposes. I'm not sure. So we also thought we would like to see the second bridge crossing brought forward and all the comprehensive traffic planning, which you started on, obviously. I can remember past consultancy for the commercial zone. Remember the guy from Mauritius? He was from Melbourne, but he was a Mauritian guy with a linen suit and a hat, and he came over and there was a lot of extensive planning going on. So he helped recommend that the traffic slow down through Ruape Street and Robert Street, and there was a sort of boulevard concept and connectivity between the eateries and the lakefront, non-permeable paved areas, and more a bit of traffic, but more pedestrian and cycling and things like that. So I just said facetiously, really, that why are we reinventing the wheel in terms of consultation around the traffic when we've done a lot of that? It looked pretty good, I think, and it addressed that idea that we had a point of difference with the lake and the eateries, the harbour, whatever else that you decide around the admin building, but didn't seem to Doug and I that it was a priority to build an administration building at this time. I think there are other areas of community need that are greater.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jane. Appreciate your two submissions this morning. Councillor Williamson.
Through the chair. Thank you, Jane. You'll just admire your passion for environmental sustainability and the work you do with Lakes and Willoway, and also things like the community gardens. So as attending the meetings, obviously, council body, we do get along as often as we can, so they're very enlightening and very interesting. I think just commend you for the work that you do as an organisation.
I know, I get texts from Nick Singer saying, can you come and plant trees in Tonga, on the wetland? I'm going, oh my gosh. I'd love to, Nick.
Very good. Councillor Jollins.
You've got eyes in the side of your head. Good morning, Jane.
Hello.
Just a question from me. I'd be interested in how you would answer this. There is sometimes a perception or conclusion drawn that a sustainable building, to build one, ultimately costs more.
Well, all the evidence is in that.
So can you just maybe give us a paragraph on your response to that person who would make that assumption?
So this is in the Lakes and Waterways one that I've given you. They had to do scoping for the Christchurch building and also the, oh my goodness, what have they got here? An indoor covered bus station. What a lovely idea. So, New Zealand's greenest building. I mean, this is probably out of date. Obviously, it's 2009 or something. But where's the funding here? Well, it didn't seem. What was interesting from what I was seeing was that you have the initial upfront cost, as with any build. It might be a little bit extra to put the solar panels on or to organise the dual water systems or whatever it is that's expensive that I don't have much knowledge around. But then you have the savings later on, and they very quickly, like I have and Doug has with our solar hot water, they very quickly pay back. Yeah. And if you had a very green building, you would have no power bills at all, none. In fact, you'd probably create power. So that's possible too, with passive heating and solar power. But that's a big decision to make. It's doable.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Jane. Good to see you again, and appreciate your time here this morning. All right. How are we going for time, Janie? Gary?
I didn't say that it's cheaper to not pull buildings down. We've pulled down 2 buildings recently. A lot of wasted materials and energy. It's a bit of a sad situation.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Gary? Yes. And what time are we due back?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay.
Your Worship, I have got Nathan here who wants to have 5 minutes, but we can do that over lunch so you can start eating.
Over lunch? Yep. Okay. So councillors.
Yeah.
Yeah.